tumebakisha 1 year tuingie kwa uchaguzi. I'm happy ya kwamba ukabila Kenya umeisha. Wajua watu wengi walikuwa wakilaani sisi ambao tumetoka eneo la katikati, hatufikiri watu wengine. I know sisi hatuna ukabila na sisi tutashikilia mkono watu wa sehemu zingine, hata wao viongozi. Kenya tumemaliza ukabila, we want a good Kenya.
The Ministry of Education has announced that results for the Grade 9 National Assessment (KJSEA) will be announced before Christmas to allow candidates to join senior secondary school early next year. Basic Education PS Julius Bitok said the selection process for senior secondary placements will also be completed before Christmas. He assured that every KJSEA candidate will secure a place in senior secondary school, noting that available spaces are sufficient.
We expect that the results will be out by 11th of December, and we are going to do placement immediately after that so that they can go to senior school. Our plan is that we release the results for KJSEA on the 11th, and within 1 week after that, we do our placement, after which we expect them to get their letters before Christmas. And we expect them to report on the 12th of January.
Armed men have killed a teacher and abducted at least 25 students in an attack on a girls' secondary school in northwestern Nigeria. Police said the gang invaded the government girls' comprehensive secondary school in Maga, Kebbi State at around 4 local time on Monday. The attackers engaged police personnel on duty in a gun duel before scaling the perimeter fence and seizing the students from their hostel. One member of staff was killed while trying to protect the students. A second sustained gunshot wounds and is now receiving treatment. This is the first major school abduction since March 2024, when more than 200 pupils were seized from a school in Kaduna State. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are in our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around. Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord. It shouldn't be like that.
I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing police of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And just like that, it's Tuesday. Monday finished. Tuesday decided, here I am already knocking on the door. It's the 18th of November, is it? Am I lying?
Not yet.
Oh, I'm not yet lying. Good Lord. Okay. Hey, I feel like I'm in a time warp.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning to you and to everybody who can hear us right now.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Since awake. The last time you're awake.
Yeah. At this very moment, I am.
We'll see. We'll give it time.
Yes, it's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
Somehow Tuesdays are kind of terrific in their own way. So it's a good day.
Okay. I was going to ask you for details, but that might take us a while. But, we just know that Kamanya has good Tuesdays, or in this case, terrific Tuesdays. Nothing like a little alliteration on a Tuesday morning, so okay. I hope everybody's doing all right and getting into it. I think I swallowed a frog because my throat is trying to close on me. But you know what? We'll give it all we can and see how it goes. EVE is willing the voice to stay. We'll see what we can do. At some point, I might sound sexier than usual. Yes, I actually said that out loud. All right. But we'll see how it goes. Good morning, EVE and Awar. I can see, you don't expect me to say some things, but they just kind of come out. You guys are just going to have to bear with me every now and then. Muko salama lakini. Awar, I think you passed me and my head was down, but then I was awake, my eyes opened. And I'm sure she was wondering, this chick, how are we going to do this thing today? But sis, we got this. We are there. Who else am I trying to see? Oh, yeah, okay. Frank, those things that you're saying, I wouldn't say them out loud. Frank is also here. Friends at Radio Maisha trying to get the things rolling as well. Joylene, I see you, my sister. Good morning. Christine is wearing my favorite color today, so she's done well. Everybody is getting into it proper, putting the show together and getting into things this morning. So karibuni kila mtu. as you get used to people, you start to give them nicknames. So now everybody calls you Josphat, so I'm going to call you Joe Kamanya. Is that okay?
That suffices, yeah.
It's okay?
No, it's okay.
All right.
I mean, for a Tuesday, it's okay.
It's turning out to be terrific. Joe Kamanya is here, and we're hosting the Situation Room this Tuesday morning, the 18th of November. As things start to get into it, let's talk. Our live streams are up. Excuse me. Our live streams are up on Facebook, YouTube, and on X. And a very good morning to our audience on KTN today, getting into things this morning. Wherever you tuned around terrestrial radio in the country, the region, and indeed the world, this is the show where we comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. We'll have those conversations that might be difficult every now and then, and we'll have the ones that very few people are talking about, but we'll talk about them because they're important. So as we get into things this Tuesday morning, I see that you all are getting into the room. We'll talk to you in just a bit after we let you know what we'll be talking about today. All right. Excuse me. So our show today will have a couple of conversations. We're going to start it off with a 7 a.m. conversation around what is happening in the political sphere. The Member of Parliament for Kisumu East is the Honorable Shakil Shabir Ahmed. He will join us with Odoyo Widi, who is a political and policy analyst. The bitter orange, is it bitter? That's the conversation that we'll be having at 7 a.m. The broad-based government tussle, we'll have that conversation today as we get into things. That starts off at 7 o'clock. 87,000 ghost learners fiasco. We'll have that conversation with Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, who's the executive director of the Usawa Agenda. Might be joined by Ndu Okoh. We'll talk about what exactly is happening. Capitation not sent, all of that not happening. That conversation will happen at 9. In between all of this, we'll talk with Gloria Orwoba, who's former senator. Ruto under the spotlight, Labour export expose. The New York Times released through a local, rather the East Africa correspondent, Abdi Latif, this story about what is really happening with Kenya workers abroad, in this case Saudi Arabia, and that the agencies that send a lot of these workers across, and some part owned by the president and his daughter.
Yes.
Is that the case? If so, what's going on? Been trying to crack that nut for a while. It's a hard one to crack. We'll have that conversation. Remember that when Gloria Orwoba was nominated senator,
yes,
she did push for a lot of people who didn't have the opportunity to work here to work abroad, but that ended up in a serious fiasco.
Yes.
And if this is the case, let's talk about it and find out what's going on.
Find out, yes.
It's a bit of a mess. But we'll open that up a little bit as we go into those conversations today. Yes, so that's what we're doing today. And we're still in Guinea.
Guinea?
Yeah, I know you want to say Benin.
No, this is Guinea.
This is Guinea.
This is Guinea.
Right?
Yes.
Guinea is, let's even look at the map. Because some of you don't even know where this country is.
What do they speak? Creole?
They speak Creole to an extent. I just want to show you where it is on the map. So Guinea is
next to Gabon.
It borders Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. It does have a bit of a coastline. The capital of Guinea is Conakry, and quite a number of cities, but it's surrounded literally by those 5 countries, except then on the Atlantic Ocean at the coast. Right?
Right.
The official languages of Guinea, we know that they were colonized by the Portuguese, but now as we look at the official language, and then French actually, so the French in the most part, a little bit of Portuguese in Guinea-Bissau. So they were colonized by the French. French is the official language of government, education, and media. They have several indigenous languages, a big one being the Fula, the Mandinka, and the Asusu. Other indigenous languages, more than 24. from different parts of the continent. Over 40 languages spoken, and so still one of the 8 countries where the French neo-colony didn't know how we're going to be able to stop the foreign reserves being domiciled in Paris.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's one of them.
They're saying repatriation is a must.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to be going too well. And it might get President Macron in a bit of a pickle in the future in terms of how he's going to sustain the economy if he depends on 8 African nations who are no longer interested in doing that with him.
Yes.
The proverb today reads thusly. Knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested.
That's deep. Maybe I should leave it at that.
Oh, come on. Oblige me just a little bit.
But it's like even good things need nurturing. You know, we must tend to that which is good so that it can thrive, so it can be of more purpose. Simply put.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Though it is good, needs to be tended, needs to be attended to, needs to be nurtured, so that possibly we can also pass it on to those who come next.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, in the spirit of being a Kenyan, we nurture our country.
Absolutely. If you don't take care of it, there's going to be nothing for you to get at the end of the day.
Yes.
So you need to take care of it. Love it. Absolutely love it. And just saying hello to everybody who's tuned into the room this morning. Always thank you for tuning in. And we definitely do appreciate that, as you do every morning. So who is online today? Aguto Ogembo says, good morning, tuned in. Good morning from Mombasa. Peter Kiaria says, nothing is outside of God's control, so turn all your problems and worries over to him. I like that.
Amen.
Kabisa. Also, Robert Tomogo tuning from Mombasa as well. Mombasa folks are up and about. Rose Grace is tuned in from Menara. Blessing Spice team. Thank you so much for getting in every morning. Jeffrey Gekonge is also tuned in. Pan-African Kenyan says, good morning from Nairobi. Daniel Ekakoro is tuned in from Naivasha. And he says, kindly invite me for interviews, or do you only do high-profile persons? Well, I mean, what would we be coming to talk about? No, we don't just do all. I think you know this by now, that the Situation Room handles issues across board. So depending on the issue, let's talk about it. But it's not just going to be how your day was and what are you doing next weekend, kind of thing. There are conversations for impact. So, let's talk a little bit more, shall we? Daniel. Bree Bishanga says, good morning. We see you. So remember that Dennis Asseto is in Belém in Brazil, and he's attending the Conference of Parties 30 that happens in Brazil. So be back after a week or so. Sawa. Ramtula Omar is tuning in this morning from Preston in the UK. Says he was shocked to see the New York Times article that cheap labour has replaced the Kenyan coffee as our top export, while Kenyans are mistreated abroad, especially in the Gulf. Shocked? It's been happening for a while. And we've been raising this issue. We raised it with the current CS, raised it with the most previous Labour CS, have been talking about this over and over and over again. And even with the PS of Diaspora Affairs, who's been telling us, yes, we have all these contracts in place, but it still continues to happen. Again, we'll have that conversation this morning at 9. At 8. Jimmy Monuthi is tuning in this morning. I was on a small sabbatical show. Have a great show. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming back. Always good to have you. Leo says, hello, Princess Ndu, and our guest, Joe Kamanya. Whoever pays for the sound determines the sound. When people are hungry, the pocket wise, they're easy to manipulate. Well, this is true, for sure. Sabalheri Dada Nandugu Zanguni. Good morning, Rogers Line. Good morning. The sisters tuned in. Kenyans are stressing their president. Interesting times. Are they? Isakale, good morning. Where were you? We noticed that you were not here yesterday. You must tell us. You were a silent listener. Glad to be here loudly today. Asante sana. When people are shouting and clapping at political diarrhea, it's what is in the pocket talking. We are just a country hungry, and for the soul and stomach. Interesting. Precious Gondi says, Jumbo, and good morning, everybody. Good morning to you. Margaret Wajohi says, good morning. Situation Room from Houston, Texas. That's where you are. It's great to be here early. Let's continue informing each other about important aspects of our motherland, Kabisa. Joe Mungai tuned in this morning as well and says, Gen Zs, where do we have by-elections? I thought someone said we had seen a revolution. Okay, I'm not quite sure what your question is, but okay. Bonjour, mes amis, says Agola. Good morning to you. Eric Orr tuned in, says, good morning, guys. Good morning. Wabua Sami, good morning. You're asking what Jeremiah was saying in that particular interview? Well, Abdikadir Korane says, good morning. Abdikadir from Garissa, heartbreaking case in her Hagadera, when young Safia, who had just completed her Kejasea, was tragically raped, killed, allegedly by her own uncle. This is painful. Yes, it is unbelievably painful. It's tragic that we should still have things like this happening. Very, very tough one to then be able to even imagine. David Mangera says, good morning, Princess Ndu and Josphat. Thank you. Good morning. And the entire crew, Nikondani Kabisa, thanking God for another day. Ramtula, I said I should take honey and ginger. My friend, honey and ginger, I put it in an IV. I injected it into my veins yesterday, literally. And here we are. Let's see what happens. Bwangi Juma says, good morning. How are you all? We're doing good. Help us understand, even as we head to court, was ODM at 20 an election day? For who? Did you see people voting?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
But it sounded like there was a sort of succession politics.
Sindio?
Yeah.
That's clear. Dennis Utaka says, good morning. Beautiful from the Lakeside City. John K says, where is Dio Carey? He's off for some time. He will be back. Dave is speaking for me, talking to EVE. Sindio? Okay, now everybody's there. What's the word? Diagnosing me and prescribing things. Silver Fox Joe is what you've been called this morning.
Well, another nickname. It's a Tuesday.
It's a terrific one.
Hi.
Ginger, lemon, honey, hot water. Those things are being said. Put it here. Let's go. The sisters, even Kaluma lozenges. Okay. Resist Tuta Mutuku says, good morning. Mombasa temperatures are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. 40s in the 40s.
It's hot, huh?
It is hot. It's hot. Joseph Okondo says, good morning, tuned in. Where is the Iroko tree originating from in Nigeria? You want to know where the Iroko tree is? It is in the south of the country. Oh, you asked Aseto, but you forgot to ask me. Yes, the Iroko tree is in the southern part of the country. Sawa, under the Iroko tree. There's a story about that. Sanch Zamunda says, good morning, tuned in. Owen Emolu says, good morning, tuned in from Bomet. Boost the signal. Boost it to where? And Ayokeo says, good morning, tuned in. And Stanley Ogula is tuned in as well. Kenya 1. Good morning, gorgeous lady and wise man. Hey, I like these tags, man. David Mpile says, good morning, wonderful conversation, Situation Room. Keep it up, guys. Thank you so much. You're tuned in from Denver, Colorado, and I love it because you guys are going to bed, but you're still going to stay awake a little bit for us to have these conversations. Fantastic. So George Gashoyedi says, good morning, looking forward to a great show. Everybody seeping into the room this morning. Thank you for doing this. When you do, so we have these conversations together.
Right. And yesterday I realized someone had a birthday and he's been a spicer. He's been in the hot seat for a while. I don't know if you wished them happy birthday.
Who was that?
Jimmy Wanjigi.
It's Jimmy Wanjigi's birthday. It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. So everybody was listening to us. Kenyans, we greet people. We say, Salimia, wow. It's good to celebrate people when they are alive. So
why didn't you say yesterday? See, when I sang yesterday, I would have remembered yesterday.
We can do a belated happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Jimmy Wanjigi. May the road rise to meet you, and may the wind forever be at your back, and may the worst of your todays be the best of your tomorrows. Jimmy, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I would sing, but I would sound a little bit scratchy today because my voice is not doing the thing.
Yeah.
But Jimmy, happy birthday to you. And thank you. All right. So, let's look into the headlines.
Yes.
We'll start on the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. Hey, okay. I'm definitely going to need some ginger for this because police bribe rackets. A hard-hitting audit has laid bare a sprawling web of corruption at the heart of the police service, exposing a system where junior officers are handed daily cash targets and Kenyans are shaken down to meet them. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission report paints a picture of institutionalized extortion from matatus and borders to bars and city traders, with officers threatened, transferred or framed if they fail to deliver. It details bribery cartels, compromise accident investigations, extortion rings, misuse of firearms, decaying infrastructure and gaps in training, revealing a security system weakened from within. Okay, sorry, but you knew this. We've known this. Yes. Have we not known this? We've heard about these things before. It looks as though the EACC is a little bit late to the party.
As always. As always.
But people have known this for a while. Yeah. Is it a good thing that now it's documented and that there's a report that they could then do something with? One would imagine that they've gathered and collected evidence over time and they've put it in this report. They're talking about 1,000 shillings per week is a protection fee demanded from each vehicle. Do your math, give or take. If on the route from Mombasa Road to the city centre, you have, give or take, 20,000.
That's 20 million.
In a day, my friend.
It's billions, you know. we keep talking of pilferage. This is it. This is raw data confirming. And sometimes I wonder, we've been speaking about this all day. Yesterday we were talking about road safety. And you can see one of the consequences is that you have compromised accident investigations.
Tell me.
Because partly the police will not take responsibility, the authorities like the NTSA, and then they don't want to, the police don't to be hard on the would-be masters. So this tendency is not only costing us resources, but also lives.
But what is this protection fee, Joe? The protection fee is so that in the event that you mess up on the road, you will not be busted.
So you bail yourself up in advance?
In advance, every week.
So how are these police enforcing the law?
They're not.
And why even recruiting 10,000 more?
Now you're going to recruit another 10,000 police officers, get them into the system where this abject impunity continues on the roads.
Do they do a proper induction into this web of corruption to the recruitees?
I think by the time you're being recruited, you're aware of what happens in the thing. So you know what you need to do.
It's a sad story.
It's very sad. We'll look into the details of it. 200 to 1,000 shillings is what bribes are demanded per stop from matatus on the Ngong Road route. So from Ngong town to the city, how many stops?
Can you
One
imagine?
vehicle. How many stops?
That's
you give 200 bob.
That's a physical inspection we were questioning yesterday. And you realize the key things that they're supposed to be doing are not done. Like right now, when you're exiting the expressway at the Likoni Road exit, they block the ETC exit, forcing you to use the risky one as you're coming to join the road, because there has to be a shoulder, a leeway for you to join the main road. So they block the one that safely gets you on the highway. That area is prone to accidents, and I know some have happened there. And you wonder why. It's an expressway. It's the ETC. You don't need anybody.
You don't need anybody to stop you. That's the point. That you've loaded your thing. You should be able to. It opens. You move. You go
safely. We do have a leadership problem.
There's a leadership problem.
Yes, we have a leadership problem.
Top.
Yes.
From the top. Okay, so that story we'll look into in a bit. When things are happening and people are talking about where they're weighing money on scales and how people are getting 50 million shillings, in Marsabit County, just to the north, women are forced to trek miles as water sources are drying up. You would think that this would be something that, over the years, did we just realize that Marsabit or any of the countries in the Assal, any of the counties in the Assal regions needed some attention when it came to water sources, because this area geographically is prone to drought. But women are having to, and you know what? The water that they're going to get is sometimes the color of that wall.
As the photo depicts. As the photo depicts clearly. And you wonder, because water is a devolved function. The people of Marsabit have a governor, they have a senator, they have MCAs, and they have a whole budget. Money that was given from the national government to the county government, not just this year, but for the last 13 years. for the last 13 years, Marsabit have had a governor. Water is a devolved function.
Yep.
So even as we come out to say that, people focus on national politics, also the county governments need to be called to order.
I have a responsibility here.
Yes.
You've got budgets that this money is given every year. There's 420 billion shillings that's shared then among the counties. So you want to wonder, and this has, like you say, over 13 years.
Yes.
There's been a governor.
Yeah.
They've gotten a county budget. There's a senator. There are members of parliament. There are MCAs.
And you'll hear them giving bursaries and sponsoring people from Marsabit to go abroad to study full scholarships. Yeah. So,
This is another one we'll come and look into. Kenyans still seeking answers on kin missing after Darpol's chaos. There we see the picture there of human rights defenders doing a media briefing. They're demanding the release of Kenyans. This was interesting because Samia Suluhu, in her first address to Parliament after she was sworn in
a
for
forest.
the term.
In a forest.
Yeah. She said she was forgiving she did not know that, there were other people in the country. She didn't know. And then when she was told, she said, I know this cannot happen. She also, for those in custody who had been held on charges of treason, she forgave them. And she said they need to be let go because they were obviously misguided. So then one must ask, those who are not of Tanzanian origin, who are still held,
yes,
how about them?
And not just that. Remember, earlier, I think last week, we were served to a bold front page saying the Trinity of Terror, because it's seeming to be common standard of practice, lip service from the Trinity of Terror.
Yeah.
A head of state will say one thing, his security men will say another thing, and then the real issue will manifest differently. It's a good thing you're questioning about those who may have been arrested, but there are those who were killed.
Yes.
Where are their remains?
Exactly.
And some of them are known to be Kenyans.
Yes.
So where is the Prime Cabinet Secretary?
I'm going to say one thing, and then you can do that as you cannot judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
How? Say no more.
Okay. In other stories in the Standard, 10,000 recruits to join police service after 3 years of hiring freeze ends. And what are we letting them into when they begin this? Duale says 50 billion shilling new hospital project will be overseen by KDF. Okay. Okay.
It's laughable, yes.
Yeah.
I think anywhere Duale comes up, it's just laughable.
The EACC accuses MP Aladwa of grabbing 65 million shilling Buruburu land. Okay. They can accuse him, but are they going to do anything about it? All bark and no bite is the question. State machinery claims dominate Malava and Mbere heated mini polls. We know that in about a week or 2 weeks, we go to the elections, the by-elections, that is. Gachagua and 4 governors and 10 MPs on the NCIC radar. Another institution which sometimes, guys, come on the radar because of what? I dare say that perhaps there are other people who should be on the radar as well in terms of what they're saying during these political rallies. But who am I? Whomst am I? One other story looking to the Standard before you look into the Nation. Lawyer Mwita in custody as police probe alleged terror financial link. This was coming out of the courts yesterday. It was we saw that early as in the early part of the afternoon.
Yeah.
And the question is, why him? And what is it that they're looking for? What connection do we see here?
Yeah.
They've asked to hold him for another 20 days. They've taken his phones, he's taken his laptops, and what connection he may have to those who've been charged with terrorism.
Let's see how that story develops.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the Daily Nation. Hacker's paradise.
Did you know that things were hacked for a minute there?
Well, they are clearly listed.
Yeah.
And I think this is just the beginning of it. And as he says, the hacker's paradise, the threat. Cyber criminals yesterday made several government websites, including State House, inaccessible and defaced pages by altering their visual appearance and content in yet another major security breach, coming amid repeated warnings. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Amid repeated warnings by the Auditor General about system weaknesses, the attack exposes the state's laxity and puts the data of millions of Kenyans at risk. Some of those that are hacked is the KRA, KPLC. Was the attempt trying to buy tokens for Kenyans? I'm just asking.
Robin Hood, we don't mind Robin Hood.
Airports Authority, KAA, eCitizen, and ministries and other departments. And you see, it has built up from 2016 to date. That story continues on page 4 and 5. And what is worrying is that there has been a failing heed. The government has failed to heed to all the audit warnings. So it's not that they were not warned.
They were told before.
They were told this is coming, this could happen, your systems are weak, they need upgrade. And it's listed there 2022-2023. The Nairobi County, that's the institution. The issue was expired hardware and software no longer supported by Microsoft, which were being used to operate revenue systems. So the question would be, have we lost any revenue silently? Then another institution, 2023-2024, 39 NGCDF's issue. The issue was lack of an approved information technology system, training and support. The comment, there was a risk. Internal controls were at risk. Yeah. So basically they were warned. And again, I ask, when will we ever take institutional responsibility? Because these systems are meant to be upgraded, they're meant to be maintained. And I'm sure there is an annual budget of system maintenance or system development. That's interesting to see. Page 4 of the same says about the low turnout or disappointment that marked police recruitment drive. I saw a young man yesterday, he was very angry. He was trending, asking why he's being turned away. Initially, they told him to go join the NYS. He went, he did the training, he completed that. He came then for the police recruitment. They were saying he's a bit too short. And he was almost saying, the person who is telling me I'm a bit too short is shorter than me. Yeah. Then page 3 of the Daily Nation, there's a very inspiring story of a life-saving heart surgery that inspired a young woman to become a nurse. I think I saw that in the expose. And Maureen Cherotich, she's a 24-year-old nurse who works at the AGC Tenwek Hospital in Bomet County. She happened to have had a heart surgery when she was young, and she dedicated her life to helping persons who will be needing such. And she's doing a great job. It's quite inspiring.
Very, very.
Yeah. So she's gone ahead and to be a nurse in that sector. We have the page 5. Anti-counterfeit boss denies soliciting 5 million bribe from a foreign investor. That's an oxymoron.
Quite.
Right?
I don't know that they expect anybody to actually admit it and say, actually, you know what, yes, I did. I tried to solicit 5 million shillings. I tried, but it didn't. Do you expect anybody to ever say and admit that they did?
Perhaps only the chair of the anti-corruption or anti-counterfeit.
Maybe. You shouldn't be having such a conversation if you are right.
Some of these offices, there's what you call the ethos, the ethos of practice. You get into a position that requires you to uphold certain values. Yeah, so interesting to see. Page 8.
Yep.
The one Siaya Governor, James Orengo, Minister of Entertainment, during the ODM Youth League Convention on November 14th, 2025. That's the photo, but the title says to leave or stay with Ruto. ODM's difficult choices. I think that is one of the conversations that will be ongoing until towards 2027.
For sure.
With the exit of Baba, he was the party was so huge, but now there seems to be divisions. We wait and see how it goes. I saw an interesting story to revisit the Bold newspaper, page 2. He says that bursaries disbursement to resume. That was in Kirinyaga. And as we were wishing the birthday boy happy birthday earlier, Jimmy Wanjigi, he says, should Kenyans find it fit to have him as the president, there will be no bursary disbursement because free education is coming back. So all this lining up women and sitting them down a whole afternoon waiting for a check of 2,000-3,000 for bursary.
From 3 a.m, they're sleeping at the county offices.
Will be a
on
day
the road.
Will be a thing of the past.
I've often said that there are too many funds. There is MP's bursary. There is county bursary coming from the governors.
Yes.
There is NGCDF. There is the President's Fund. All of these money that comes in from Women's Rep Ngaf. That money comes in. There's Ngaf money that goes to collapse all of those things, put it in one fund and let that fund feed directly. You have the money anyway. Let that fund go directly to schools.
Yes.
So that children stand up in the morning, they go to school. End of story. This thing that you want to use it as a political tool, that because I gave bursary and today I'm writing checks, and so then you're a demigod of sorts. So we need to stop it. Because then what are we doing? There's some children who get, like you said, 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings, and it's supposed to cater for an entire term. Come on, we're joking around. And I keep pointing back to this thing. The true north is that if you want to develop, you cannot use these backward methods and you're saying you want to develop. And then what we are doing is that you're using this as a tool for your own expediency at the behest of children who are supposed to be going to school. No. Collapse the thing. Let nobody have any control over funds that are meant to be for education. Ring fence that one fund for education. Put it directly to schools and in fact bypass the ministry. Because these are the nonsense that they're telling us now. 87,000 goes to school students. I can't even say it. Collapse the thing, make it one fund. If you need to have an amendment whereby you insert a controller of that fund and knowing where it needs to go, that's what you need to do. Because all of this nonsense, can you imagine? People are trying to imagine, on a Tuesday I'm going to wake up at 1 a.m. so that I can go and sleep outside the Kirinyaga County office so that you can come and give me 1,000 bob.
The first day you camp outside waiting to collect an application form, which you then submit if you're successful in getting one. Then another day will come where you have to repeat the same, be out by 3 a.m., be at the office by 2 a.m., whatever the time, and wait for a 2,000 check. I agree with you. We should collapse all this and make our education not just free, but also quality and accessible.
Absolutely.
Quality and accessible, because we can do it. We have the money for that. Even when you look at the whole budget allocation, a third of it goes into management of that disbursement of the fund. So for how long are we going to waste our resources, yet we continue to compromise the quality of our education? Or then should we simply just let the private sector drive the education system? But because we cannot do that, I agree. We collapse. Let's have a quality, free, accessible
because
education system.
We already know that this is an avenue for folks to steal. Let's just, if anything on this program, we can be honest that we know for years and years it has been an avenue for people to steal and to wield control over others. Now, because we know that, and that we know that folks who then slip through the cracks are the kids who are not then able to get what they need. For goodness sake, there was a woman who had a 33,000 shilling bill. She couldn't send her son to school. He could not sit the KHSA last month. So that's what we're talking about. Collapse the thing, because we know people are stealing. Put some elements of control. Tighten the thing. Let's get it done. You know that there's a hole here. Block it.
Well, Jimmy Wajigi says he's going to take you back to that future. Well, finally, at the international front, page 22 of the Daily Nation, it speaks more about the Tanzanian protests, how Tanzania police crushed poll protests with lethal force. And we need to know where the Kenyans are. And next to that on the same page is the ousted Prime Minister of, Kenyan opened up a curriculum of we the people.
Right.
The fear is gone. The sovereignty. And the first cohort were the Bangladesh people. So they took all the way and they hosted their prime minister.
They wrote the exam, they stood and put the graduation cap and turned the tassels to the... Is it to the left or the right? I can't even remember.
And now she's been sentenced to death.
Can you imagine?
Because out of that, a lot of people died. We saw even some who got shot live broadcast. So that's a story to watch, because she says that was not fair. The government that sentenced her was not legitimate.
Oh, of course not.
But we shall see what the people want.
It's true. So let me tell you this story. So I just want to look at the headline on the Star real quick.
Yes.
And that in this whole ODM conversation, like you said, it's going to be a conversation that's going to take us well into 2027, and it is important because it's a big party. I hazard a guess that the interest that's being played out now, especially from the likes of the president for ODM, is not because, let's come together and work for Kenya. No, they have numbers.
Yes.
And politics towards elections are a game of numbers. So if you have the numbers and your would-be leader is no longer there, and I can already see that you people are playing dominoes with this party. What am I? I'm the person who wants to come in and take your numbers. I don't want to take over your party, but I can see that I can control you because you seem to be in a state of confusion.
Indeed.
2027 epic race, Ruto numbers against Kalonzo Gachagua. It is true that if the president was to get the upper hand by inheriting Raila's entire voting bloc, he would win the election. That's what people are saying now. If ODM and their followers are able to fall by the wayside and they're picked up by Kenya Kwanza, those are the numbers that we're looking at. This is according to the headline in the Star.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it, and I know we're going to get into it later. But Kenyans must be careful of what we call psychological hacking.
I agree. Completely.
Because now they want to pose as these are the only options we have,
Exactly.
And that these are the people. The cream de la cream.
It's like the buffet. I keep saying about the buffet. When you when you go to a restaurant and there's stuff on the buffet, and they tell you there's chicken, it looks a little bit dry, there's some beef, maybe it's been there since yesterday, there's some other things there. Until the person who is serving tells you the truth that, hey guys, there's something fresher, but until you bring it out of the kitchen, you will not know. You will imagine that, let me make the best of this dry chicken and withered beef that is here, without knowing that there's a fresh thing just there.
Yeah. So we have to, this tunnel vision they're trying to have us into a tunnel thinking, to box us into thinking that it's either this, what they're calling opposition, or the incumbent, that those are the only options we have. I think Kenyans are brighter than that. I'm sure the people of Homa Bay have not forgotten about Albert Ojwang.
No.
They buried their son under this regime.
Yes.
And you see, that is now listed as a stronghold of the president. It doesn't work like that. We are woke, and we be voting on issues. Even Baba, whether we liked him or not, he stood on some issues.
This is true.
Yeah, so interesting.
It'll be interesting to look into that. I want to look into this police thing because, now that the EACC wants to behave as though this thing they've just realized it happened in August 2025. Let's just look into it just a little bit. It's carried on page 6 and 7 of the Standard. If you can't get yourself a physical copy of the Standard newspaper, you can get the Standard e-paper and then be able to read this story. Okay, so page 6 and 7, bribes, targets and threats. How police brass spearhead elaborate extortion racket. So report reveals that junior officers who fail to meet money targets, risk transfer or disciplinary measures. So understand this. This money target is not so that we can build a police station. No. This money target is not so that maybe we can fuel the vehicles. No. This money target is that you give your superior, your supervisor money at the end of the week. Yani pesa ya fokoni.
Yeah.
A damning audit report has revealed how the National Police Service senior traffic bosses have given their juniors daily bribe targets. The report shows that the junior officers are then deployed to go out and harass Kenyans as they collect the desired amount. Failure to reach a target means the officers will either be transferred to hardship areas or face trumped-up disciplinary cases. The report by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission was initiated by Inspector General, interestingly enough, Douglas Kanja. The systems audit report revealed deep-rooted and organized corruption within the police service and was based on an audit conducted between February and June 2025, I told you, which aimed to identify systemic weaknesses and corruption loopholes. In February, I personally invited EACC to our office. This is according to Douglas Kanja, the commissioner, and this is what he said. I personally invited EACC to our office and commissioned the audit. We invited them and gave them all the support they needed. I wanted to know where the problem in the police service is and how to solve it. He added, the best way to solve a problem is to identify, then understand it, so it becomes easier to solve it. We're working to fix the areas identified in the report. Okay, I'm just going to stop there because what's the problem? You have traffic bosses who are making their juniors go out and get money to give it to you to put in your pockets. Don't you see the problem? I mean, come on.
Who's fooling who?
Come on. It wouldn't be clearer if the problem stood up and slapped you in the face.
Yeah.
That's the problem right there.
And you know, you wonder for how long. This is not the first time this is happening. For far too long, it's been going on. We've had so many traffic police being arrested. You know, I wonder whether they do face charges.
Interesting.
And then I'm asking the arresting arm, if they know that the seniors are the ones who have deployed their juniors to go and collect money on behalf, why not take appropriate action? You know, this publicity, I call them publicity stunts. They don't need to come and excite the masses that they're trying to do anything. IG, fix the road. Just fix the road. You know?
Let me ask you,
Right.
I keep giving this my examples. When you have a problem, you feel sickly, something is growing on the side of your neck, you feel pain every now and then. When you go to the hospital, then it requires that you go to hospital, right?
Right.
Okay. The doctor looks at you, says, okay, let's do a scan audit. Do an audit. That's the scan now.
Yes.
We do a scan. We've checked. We've seen there's a problem here. In fact, this is the 4th scan that we have done. And we've seen this thing is the problem, and it's the one that's making you sick.
Yes.
It's the one that's causing headaches. It's the one that's causing weakness. It's the one that's causing you to lose weight. It's the one that's causing you to just have a general appearance of malaise. This thing. So they've done 4 scans, and they've said, you know what, Joe?
Right.
In order for you to get and feel better and operate optimally,
yes,
we need to cut this thing out. When we cut it out, we will see that these problems will cease. Now, we will not cut it out and put it in a bowl somewhere and go and look at it tomorrow.
No.
We will cut it out in its entirety and we will destroy it.
Completely.
Abi, do they say, you know what? Let's cut half of it out, or how about we keep looking at this thing for a couple more months and see if it's going to actually react badly? No. The surgeon in the surgery ward cuts out the cancer. Cuts it out and destroys it. But here we are courting with disaster all the time. Courting disaster all the time and saying, we've done an audit now. What?
And hoping the patient will get well. How?
By looking at it.
How?
And talking about it.
Nah.
Yeah. That's what we do. That's what we do all the time. And imagine that the problem will just disappear because we're looking at it, talking about it, doing an audit, doing a scan, finish, sit down there. Guy is still bleeding to death. Country is bleeding to death, but we're looking at the problems, looking at them, and then your leg is about to be chopped off, but then we take a little elastoplast and we put it there and say, let's just hold on to that for a minute. Are you kidding me? What are you smoking? Give me some. Hey.
Sad.
It is.
The Star, page 3, the caricature. That was the ODM and the cake. So many faces. I still cannot trace Caleb Amisi.
So he showed up somewhere yesterday?
In Mombasa.
Well, okay, not.
I need to know whether he was served cake by the older member, the founding member, who cut the cake. Somebody find Caleb Amisi for us, because he said that Ruto was not going to serve him cake. Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting. All right, can we look at one more story, a couple more before we go into it? So, this Marsabit story, again, we will continue to point these things out. And it is cryable, laughable, just all kinds of jokeable that we should have a situation now. You want to go to first world? You want to be in first world? Okay. You know what? At home, we turn on the tap with confidence, some people. At work, we approach the water dispenser certain that the commodity meant to quench our thirst will be readily available.
Yes.
However, in Marsabit County, the reality is starkly different. The search for water has become part of daily life. Wells have dried up, riverbeds lie bare, and women walk for hours under the scorching sun just to fill a few jerry cans. What many consider normal is an unimaginable struggle for the people of Marsabit. To understand this better, the team, this is Rosa Agutu's story, brilliant journalist, by the way. We traveled to witness the situation firsthand. From Marsabit town, we embarked on a 5-hour journey along a rough road to Dukana. Despite the harsh weather, we were sheltered in comfortable vehicles. But after running over hot, sharp stones for kilometers, one tire finally gave in, a flat. Once it was fixed, we continued for another hour to an area known as Saru. Along the way, we met a group of women heading to fetch water, their donkeys laden with empty jerry cans. One might assume they were walking to a borehole, dam, or piped water source, but no. Their destination was a shallow depression in the ground where water slowly seeps to the surface. Again, I will stop there. You can get a copy of the Standard and read the rest of the story. But as any good story does, is that in the intro, you have access to what the story is going to build into. There is water, Joe, seeping out of the ground. It is not a borehole. It is not a community tap, which you would have expected maybe the county government would have established since 2013. But that didn't happen when devolution began. With all the hundreds of billions of shillings that have been sent to counties over years, that has never happened. There is dirty water seeping from the ground, and that is what these women have walked for hours to go and try and get, to bathe, to cook, to drink. In Kenya, it's the same country, guys. It's not somewhere else.
Apparently, it's not the same country. It is not. Because if you look at the counties receive funds every year. There is an allocation of billions from the national government that is meant to go and facilitate the devolved functions: agriculture, water, education, among others. Further to that, water is an essential commodity. You know, we even have SDG, I think it's SDG 6, that talks about clean water and sanitation. 5 or 6 thereabout.
Yes, it is.
And they also give grants, direct grants, sometimes to even these counties, because they are considered to be the hardship areas. So it is known that water must be provided. Water must be worked on, not just for humans, but even livestock. Because again, remember, these people, they rely heavily on the livestock for their own livelihood. So my question is, for the last 13 years, what has been the Marsabit, to be specific, the Marsabit County Development Plan?
You have to ask. But meanwhile, First World, we see you.
First World is a mirage.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, we cannot be talking about
First
lack of
World, and then you're drinking water that's seeping out of the ground, some dirty water, parasite-infested water, and then you want to tell me that tomorrow we're heading toward this First World. Give me a freaking break. 7 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. 2 suspects linked to the Kwabinzaro murders in Malindi are today due to appear in court to face charges including murder, terrorism and organized crime. Julius Thoya, age 35, and Charles Mutua, age 67, were arrested in Kitui after months on the run. Thoya was found hiding in Kanya village, while Mutua was arrested in Kanyonyo as he tried to flee to Nairobi. DCI investigators have recovered phones, summoned booklets, a pistol, and exhumed 34 bodies, and 102 remains as the probe continues. 4 suspects, including main suspect Shalin Tembo Anido, remain in custody and will return to court on Monday next week. President William Ruto has urged judges handling refugee and migration cases to uphold justice, fairness and international standards, noting that their decisions have a profound impact on people at risk. He was speaking at the 14th World Conference of the International Association of Refugee and Migration Judges. Ruto emphasized that the Shirika plan he launched in March marked a transformative step in Kenya's capacity to give relief and protect the dignity of refugees and asylum seekers.
The Shirika plan that we launched a couple of months ago is transforming refugees from being a burden to the communities, to them working with the communities to forge enterprise, to do business together, and to leverage on the expertise and the knowledge and the efforts of the refugees in building the communities that hosts them.
Ruto also announced that construction of the Rironi Naivasha Mau Summit Highway as a dual carriage will begin next Friday, with Kenyan contractors working alongside Chinese firm CRBC to build the 170-kilometer road aimed at easing travel between Nairobi and Western Kenya. Several government websites were temporarily knocked offline on Monday following a cybersecurity incident, the government has confirmed. In a statement, Interior PS Raymond Omolo said preliminary investigations point to a group calling itself PCP at Kenya as the suspected attackers. Omolo said the government had stabilized the affected systems and placed them under continuous monitoring. Authorities said the incident response teams were immediately activated after the breach and managed to restore services. Omolo noted that the state would strengthen its multi-layered cyber defenses to ensure early detection, rapid containment and minimal disruption in the event of future attempts. President Samia Suluhu of Tanzania named her daughter Wanu Hafidh as Deputy Minister for Education as she unveiled her new 27 member cabinet for her second term after last month's disputed election. Wanu, aged 43, serves as a member of parliament for Makunduchi in Zanzibar. Princess Samia also appointed Wanu's husband, Mohamed Mchengerwa, as new health minister. She dropped at least 7 ministers and promoted Ridhiwani Kikwete, son of former President Jakaya Kikwete, from deputy minister to minister.
Ofisi ya Rais, Management ya Utumishi wa Umma na Utawala Bora, waziri atakuwa Mheshimiwa Ridhiwani Jakaya Kikwete na naibu wake waziri ni Mheshimiwa Regina Ndege Kwarai. Ofisi ya Rais, Mipango na Uwekezaji, atakuwa Mheshimiwa Profesa Kitila Alexander Mkumbo na naibu waziri wake ni Mheshimiwa Pius Steven Chaya.
In the United States, former Harvard University President Larry Summers has said he will step back from public commitments after his emails with disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein were made public. Emails released by Congress last week show Summers, a former U.S. Treasury Secretary, communicated with Epstein up until the day before Epstein's 2019 arrest and for sex trafficking minors. Files related to Epstein continue to roil Congress with a vote on their release scheduled for Tuesday. The move comes after the U.S. Justice Department announced that it would investigate Epstein's involvement and relationship with former President Bill Clinton, who was also a friend of Epstein, and several other prominent Democrats. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
What are you doing? And whatever it is that you're doing, you ought to be doing it with Naivas. And you need to be shopping Kikwetu style. I won't say Kikwete style, but Kikwetu style. Interesting that we can have so many things sounding the same. So here it is. Are you ready to kick off the festive season? You should be. Let's do it Kikwetu style. We're talking about unbeatable deals, flash sales, and deals of the day of up to 60%. So this is your chance to stock up, gift early, and enjoy value that truly saves you money. Okay, now listen up. Naivas is celebrating 35 years of Kikwetu excellence in a big way. So through the Naivas at 35 Kikwetu promotion, they are saying, and as you enter into any Naivas is saying Asante Sana. So there will be amazing prizes weekly and monthly. They're giving away 6 cars, 45 motorcycles, fridges, cookers, microwaves, and even the iconic Naivas Mbuzi. And this year we're going to spice it up a little bit with chicken. The best part, you could win instantly at the till every day, everywhere. Just make sure you're a Naivas loyalty member. How do you do that? Shop for any amount and you are already in. So, shop, save, and win. Kikwetu style at a Naivas Kiloko near you or online. Black November, the Kikwetu style only at Naivas. All you need to do is remember that Naivas saves you money every day. All right, and we get into our conversation this morning. As we do that, not to forget that our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. We're tuned in around the country, the region, and indeed the world. And we're going into a bitter orange conversation this morning. And even as we get into it, let's do it. Both of our guests are here. The Kisumu East MP is the Honorable Shakil Shabir Ahmed. He's here with us this morning. It's been a while, but he's here all the same. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Everybody. I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah?
Long time, but you're back.
Very long time. It's good to see you. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Owidi Odoyo Owidi. Double O is a political and policy analyst, and he joins us also in the room. Good morning.
Morning to you.
How are you doing?
It's long since I was here. I guess even the table is a bit different.
The table is different. The tables do turn every now and then.
Okay.
But good to have you both here. We're going to be looking into... It's interesting because EVE has decided it is a bitter orange. And if it is a bitter orange, We're looking at what the broad-based government is actually like. True. And we'd like to have real conversations in this room about what is really happening. And so it's good that both of you can be here. As you know, we go around the African continent every week, and we land in a particular country, and we glean their proverbs for them to be able to speak to us in one way or another. This week we're in Guinea. And we'd love to be able to get your interpretation of this proverb from this country that was colonized by the French. French still remains their national language, but they still do have many more, surrounded by, interestingly enough, the colonies of former slaves, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and then looking at Mali in the north, Senegal on the other side. But they've carved their own. And this is their proverb today. Knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. Knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. Double O, we can start with you.
I believe they intend to say, if you know and do nothing with it, it will disappear. You must keep using your knowledge to keep it. The things I learned long time ago and I no longer use have since dissipated from my head. Yeah.
Okay. Mr.
Absolutely. The knowledge is like a garden. You have to continuously water it. You have to continuously look after it. You have to continuously remove the old bed and put new flowers in it or whatever else. So the idea of the brain is the same matter. If you do not feed the brain with ideas and thoughts that you can perhaps develop the brain. So and the person and the person
right.
and the person
and the person.
So you take care of yourself. If I come in here, I'm like a garden. I've not got my tie on right. I've not washed my clothes. I've not done this. That's it. You know.
Interesting, for sure. Well, thanks for sharing those opinions and those interpretations.
But if you want to take it otherwise, in politics it's the same thing.
Oh, come on. Of course. Not taking away from the importance that politics plays, of course, and that's why we need to talk about this. That there seems to be a really spirited effort to convince everybody, and maybe those within the party, that ODM is together and that it is strong. Is it important? It absolutely is, because it is one of the biggest parties, and we know that parties form and shape the politics of the country, at least in the Kenyan model, they do. Over the weekend, Winnie Odinga seemed to have stirred up things and maybe put a bee in the bonnet of folks who thought that things would just be business as usual. But she essentially asked that the party goes back to the people and make a request of them as to who should lead the conversation on this broad-based arrangement. So let's take a few steps back and we start with you. Odo, what do you think about ODM in the broad-based government, and is it necessary for them to still be relevant in it?
First we must agree and accept that ODM was Raila Odinga and Raila Odinga was ODM. And if you listen to majority of the commentators on issues ODM, they keep on referring to Raila Odinga said this, Raila Odinga wanted this, and so on. So question number one I would be asking, why did Raila Odinga himself ask the people, go to the people to seek their opinion on this very broad-based arrangement? He did not do that. ODM is a consensus party. A consensus party is the party that always does everything through consensus rather than internal elections. One of the things many people have complained about in the past, including myself, was that ODM does not go to elections, internal elections, the ones that they largely call nominations. When they need candidates for various seats, they pick them out in what they themselves call consensus. When they pick out members of parliament in parliamentary committees and leadership, they use consensus. When they pick out people who go to represent the party in Iala, they use consensus. Raila Odinga himself was elected by the community through a community consensus that nobody dares challenge. So ODM is a party of consensus, and anybody who wants to change it when Raila is no more may not succeed very much. In any case, at this point in time, the glue that held ODM together is no longer there. You notice that while we were in Mombasa, it was very difficult to find one of those leaders who could pull people in the back room to tell them this is our common narrative here. No. Everybody who came back from there came back suffering from what is called Tower of Babel phenomenon, speaking his own language, demanding his own things. And you realize that when they were speaking, everybody was just supporting his own opinion and cause, what he wants to do. And I dare say here that some of those people who are vehemently opposing the position that ODM is in now are people who had left the party by their heart. What they are doing today is waiting for an opportune moment to say, we left because of this and that. They have left, but they are looking for a reason. And such persons are Edwin Sifuna. Sifuna left ODM even when Raila was still alive. You know, people have argued that how come Raila kept on defending Sifuna? They should also ask themselves, how come Raila was once defending Ababu Namwamba so much until the moment he was being relieved of his, he did not know that Raila was no longer with him. There was even one man called Magarer Langat. Even on the morning he was being frog-marched from office, he did not know. He was sitting there pretty. Raila would not let you know that you are going to go. Just the same way, I would not advise you to let your house help know she's going to be fired. No. Somebody in your kitchen, somebody in your driver's seat should not know you are going to fire him. That is how things work.
Are you saying that Secretary General Edwin Sifuna would have been on his way out and not of his own free will?
Yes.
Why?
Because he was opposing the position that Raila had adopted. Even Raila was now caged because there are some people in his camp who are talking about they don't want to be in broad-based, and those ones who are talking they should be. And that was the cage he was finding himself in. And then he chose to be vague. Because in any case, serious politics abhors clarity. You don't have to be very clear. Even in religion sometimes, the religious leaders are not clear. Even Jesus, most of the time, were answering questions. Parables. So that you begin thinking by yourself. So where we find ourselves in, even when Winnie talk also, you also need something about her speech. People saw that she was talking to Oburu. But from where I said she was talking to Gladys Wanga, most of the context of her speech was not applicable to Oburu. And you also notice that there are two top officers, the party leader and the party chair, who were actually recently appointed to act. And I think what Winnie really wanted was that get an opportunity to remove Gladys Wanga. Because you also know Oburu, at his age now, he's not carrying the future of that party. But Winnie see herself as carrying the future of that party.
So now
she would not want to fight somebody who is not playing in her league. She would want to fight somebody playing in her league.
So now I know that the ambiguity that you rightly so highlight, where does it now leave the party? Because I agree, ODM in my opinion was Baba and Baba was ODM. And thus the party became the embodiment of the spirit of the late Raila Amolo Odinga. And may his soul rest in peace. But now politics have to prevail. These people need a political home, and there seems to be a huge fragmentation. And everybody, as you say, shooting from the hip and different angles. This ambiguity in the leadership of ODM is also now becoming more personal than issue-based. Like Baba would say, these are party of the people for the people. So we build consensus. That seems to be diluted. Is there a hope for ODM, or is this the end of it? Was this the cake that will last? That they've cut last together? Could it be the end of ODM? Could it be a new beginning of another political formation?
You have noticed that even in families where there is no wealth, nothing to share out, people never fight after the death of a patriarch. Where there is enough wealth to fight for, that is where people fight. The fight in ODM has just begun. Mombasa was the center field where the whistle was blown. Going forward, many people, even people who have no positions in the party or relations, But you also notice that Nyanza has 4 counties.
Yes.
The 2 southern ones don't contain anybody opposing the position of the broad-based. And even Kisumu, I think the problem is largely in Siaya. So that is where the problem is. So I can foresee everybody, and the nice thing about the symbolic nature of orange, it is easy to cut into small pieces.
But it's not just a Nyanza party. It's a party that's a national party, isn't it?
I know what you are talking about. That is de facto, but that is de jure. But de facto, ODM without Nyanza is dead. Because even when you see the people I'm counting, you left long time ago. It's Sifuna, it's Osotsi, it's Amisi, it's Arati. Those are the people I can tell you left even before Baba went. So even before Baba went, ODM was on its deathbed. And I think one of the arrangements, even though it falls within 20 years, was to pull them together, talk in one voice, sing together, dance together, eat together and share. But ODM was already on its deathbed because you can do certain things for a long time, but it reaches a time when a generation comes which simply don't understand why you do things the way you do. So ODM will be split into multiple pieces, each person with a piece of it, just the same way Ford one split into several pieces. It is going to split. That is in no doubt.
Mheshimiwa Shabil, looking at the slicing of the ODM and now the several pieces that will prevail, we are yet to see how that plays out. For a long time, it has been opined that if you're coming from the Luo Nyanza region and you're not running on an ODM ticket, chances of you making it to parliament are lesser than slim. Could that be changing come 2027?
Yeah, firstly, it changed some time ago, nearly 10 years ago.
Right.
I'm an example of what you are saying. I was an independent member for the last 2 terms. So that part that you have said is not necessarily true. The Luo Nation, Kisumu East and others are rationalizing to find what is the best for them. I am humbled that they have found me to be actively participating or to their satisfaction, and have they voted me twice as independent. Now, Wanawidi, sometimes I sometimes wonder, in the Luo language, there's a word called Ngongrok.
Ngongrok, yes.
Ngongrok is a chameleon. It changes colors to fit the situation. I'm not calling you Ngongrok, my brother. I am just saying that there is one. And in ODM, this is very well spread. Now, what you need to understand is to go back to what ODM was and how did it start. I have been with NDP, LDP, then metamorphosed into NAC and other things. And at the time, when I was at the foundation's dinner, Mumbi Ngaru said she was in charge and she folded up the files. And we said, good. There were many others. I was in the financial controller of LDP. So as we went along and the referendum took place, many of us took the other side and we came up with Orange. Thereafter, there was a rally at Kisumu Stadium. I was very much involved. And the rally was very big. Before we went to the rally, then met at Imperial Hotel, but then we met at the Sikh Union with the president, with the then incoming president, hopefully, at that time, Kibaki. And it was mooted Not by Balala, as I'm told now, which I hear. I'm surprised to hear it from Oburu, Mheshimiwa Oburu. It was mooted from Raila himself when I was there and I heard him. Maybe they discussed it elsewhere, but it was mooted that now it's time to crystallize on what we have, because NAC is a coalition and we need to have our own and metamorphose it into a party. So that's what we did. At that time, Honorable Najib Balala was there, and he insisted that he should be the one. Literally, made a small tantrum, but they said, go ahead. For Raila Odinga, for Mheshimiwa, the late Baba, it was a non-issue. Go ahead. Everybody knows what it's going to be. So this party, and I very much support Winnie, this party is a people's party. It started as a people's party. Institutionalize it. But the party was of the people, like the Communist Party, like Chama in Tanzania. The People's Party were the people, even ANC. The People's Party.
You are not about to say CCM for Tanzania.
I was going to say that. But,
well, it's an original. It's in its original days.
The original idea.
Yeah.
But what they have done, what they have suffered, is what ODM is suffering. Thereafter, after Pendecon, everybody bringing their people in, trying to put up structures. The structure, the institutionalization took over, or the person took over from the people. Now, you are being selected, you are being appointed by people in the ODM structure to be elected. You are not being selected by the people. It is well known that this is why I even had to leave, that there were brokers in ODM at all levels, and you had to satisfy their desires if you were going to have a chance. And it did not matter whether the people were there. In Kisumu East, and I can speak with a little bit of confidence here, the people of Kisumu East have a great love and loyalty for Raila Odinga. And I must also say that I have a great love and loyalty for Raila Odinga. Not because of anything else. He took me from nowhere, like he did Balala, like he did Junaid, like he did what's her name? Shaban, Shabesh, like he did many others, like he did even the former mayor, the current governor of Kwale. He took you from nowhere, and he told you what he wanted, what his vision was, and he put me in the mayor's position. There were 21 members of the council. 4 were for us. The rest were against us, against Raila.
Okay, but
what I'm trying to suggest, I'm coming to that picture. What happened over time is that the people no longer are the force of decision making. The people have started to have been put in the background, and so those guys who are in power, so called, who've been hanging on the coattails, I call them, some of them called leeches, and coupe ticks. They have defined where ODM should go. If you don't like them and whatever, you don't. And then some of them don't even get nominated. They just be given the straight ticket. And my friend Orengo is one of them. He has never ever won a single election. No. And Yang Nyong has not won a single election.
Yeah, they are governors today.
Yeah, but he won only one.
So what does that mean? How did they get into office?
So what we are trying to say is this. If the ODM must be the people's party. I must be the representative of the people and not the other way around. ODM started to metamorphose into a KANU. If you have a function somewhere, the ODM official will go around looking for money even from the poor peasant and pick up his chicken. It wasn't the case. It isn't the case. Now, if you go to Kisumu East and we are in some funerals, the ODM officials will come and start making a bit of a ODM, and the people are just looking at them. This is a funeral, for God's sake. So I think that's what we're saying. And I must say, I will say very loudly and clearly, I support Winnie and her vision as will be translated to her by her father. ODM has been a party of the vision of opposition, we don't need to be in opposition, but the vision is there that we must fight for our rights. We have fought for our rights. I don't know, Bonawidi, whether you have come ameonja tear gas hapa kidogo. Maybe you have. I started in 1992, 1997. So 2002, we've done this. Even one of my hands has still got that. So what we're saying, we need to be there, and I support her totally.
Okay,
about Grace, please let me finish this. About the chair and the party leaders and whatever, those are by convenience. They've been put there to see that there is some sort of structure, some sort of financing, some sort of support for the party, not on the basis that they are elected. If there was, we would have had another Men in Black situation. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're looking at it from another angle, that ODM has really, since the formation, after the constitution, it has helped us to test the same constitution, because we've had elections. We've gone to the Supreme Court based on the outcome of that. ODM has agitated still, continuously, which could have been argued it was a plus or negative, but it also played a role in advancing our democracy, in testing the same constitution that we gave ourselves as a country, which for me is a plus. But now here we are, with the exiting of the premier of ODM, and you speak of ticks and leeches and chameleons, go something, he had a local word. Yes. And you see, as we are saying even today, the demographics of the country are changing. The concentration on what people want is changing. You look at, Kenya is not at war like you would say, Sudan or Somalia. Kenya is not in a fight for democratic space like you would say Tanzania. We are focusing on a different, totally different issue, which is the economic liberation. Now, then you have an ODM here which has advanced so well, but then they are fragmenting. And then the same people whom you are saying are appointing people differently to these positions for convenience will be wanting to go to the election 2027. And yet these people, the people have left the party, as you opine. Today, would we be safe enough to say that it is a new era?
I'm not saying everywhere, I'm just talking about where I know. People have not left the party. We are disappointed by the party. We are disappointed. It might be part and parcel of our DNA, but we are disappointed.
And that disappointment is now becoming actionable. We saw even before Baba left, Babu Owino himself was leaning towards Wiper in a manner of speaking.
As I had said earlier,
right,
even before Baba left, ODM was trickling down the wrong road. And that is what was happening. When you see people like Orengo struggling very hard to reinvent the old ODM, it is simply to give them the opportunity to invoke Raila's name in their re-election. You will not re-invoke Raila's name in your re-election if the ODM is not there, if you are in a completely different political formation. So they are struggling to reinvent the old ODM, and they are struggling to preserve it, but it is not going to work. I think James Orengo, in his rush to use that opportunity to reinvent the old ODM, he forgot that you don't take people to the streets before you get the reason. He is talking about they are ready to go to the streets, but he has not told us the reason why we should go to the streets. Kenyans went to the street to get a new constitution. They did. They went earlier to the streets to get to repeal Section 2A. They did. Once they have also gone to the streets to have certain leaders move from office. They did. But even after that, we now have very strong institutions that can remove a Chief Justice from office, that can remove a DP from office, that can remove an IEBC chair from office. So we do not need to go to the street to have such people removed. Neither do we need to go to the streets to have the constitution amended. So why would Orengo want us to go to the street? He has no reason, but he knows his following have been militant. And I think he has not learned new ideas. This is the person that you talked about in that proverb you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. He has not changed with the times. He has not weeded his garden of wisdom and all those things. He's just sitting there waiting to do things as he always done them. But unfortunately, nature took away his pillar of getting done the same way. But in an attempt to reinvent himself, he's trying to reinvent the old ways of ODM. And I can tell him for free, there is no young man that is willing to go to the streets for absolutely nothing the way he thinks.
Indeed.
People would want to go to the streets for very specific things they are unable to achieve through peaceful means.
Oh, are you saying that there's nothing to fight for that can be fought for in the manner in which it was done before? And if I hear the words that Winnie Odinga spoke, she talked about the fact that ODM was not born in a boardroom or bedroom, right? It was born on the streets, that it was the struggle, it was the fight for independence and freedom from bad governance and bad leadership, and that it was the people's voice. And if anything, that is what needs to be maintained or fought for. Is there a problem with going back to what that was to fight for? Because those issues that you say people went to the streets for and got still remain in the hearts and minds of Kenyans today. Kenyans want good leadership. Kenyans want education. Kenyans want this, that, the other thing. But then the question is it the ODM party, in the way in which it was originally established, that is going to fight for them?
Number one, let's say this. Even children born in the battlefield can become priests and live a life without violence and war. Even if ODM was born in the streets, it can now come back and enjoy the fruits of being in the streets. When you use excavators and graders to do a road, they take a rest and let now the Mercedes and the Nissans move on it peacefully. ODM has done its job and has achieved those things. But when you go to the street, you must go for very specific reason that is achievable. By the leader standing up and said, you wanted us to drop the finance bill, we have dropped it. You see, but something that is not achievable, when you say you want good leaders, how do you go to the streets to achieve good leaders? Good leaders are for you to achieve through the ballot. And I don't think the people in leadership are the ones who will elect or select those good leaders you want.
So you think that ODM, having joined what is now the broad-based government, is a good thing? That we've been in the streets, we've fought, we've bled, we've sweated, we've cried tears, and now is the time for those things that we fought for to then now be established in government? So you agree with that?
In any case, that is what the law demands, that Kenya becomes inclusive, the government be broad-based. I think it's only because we associate this broad-based with ODM and UDA. But broad-based simply means it is covering the whole of the Republic of Kenya.
No, but it's not. It was this party, it was very specific. This broad-based government brought in ODM into the Kenya Kwanza relationship. It was not other parties.
So that is we are doing it then the wrong way.
If it is a broad-based government, then the broad-based government is not broad-based.
But from where I sit, it is broad because I have Joe in that government.
ODM.
So are we talking about political parties or political formations?
But
or
that
regions?
is exactly what was done, Bwana Owidi. That regions were not brought in. It was very clear that according to President William Ruto and his team of people, the only way to achieve some kind of peace or equilibrium in the country was to bring in Baba Raila Odinga and his party.
I want you to say ODM or Baba. Which one do you want to say?
You said earlier that Baba Raila Odinga and ODM are the same. So the way to do that was to bring him in.
And even
did you
Baba
see
was
him
on
forming? He did not form a broad-based government with Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. He did not do this with Justin Muturi. He did not do this with Eugene Wamalwa. He did it with Raila Odinga. So what we are saying essentially is that to maintain peace and or equilibrium in the country, he needed to have Raila Odinga on his side.
Now, let's look at it this way. Kenya was split into two. We can ignore Wajakoya and Waige Mwaura, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. So to make Kenya broad enough, you bring in Raila Odinga and William Ruto and you have the whole of Kenya. If Kalonzo Musyoka chose not to be part of the broad base, so be it. But I know, even before the broad base was brought in, there were enough people from that area who were already in the government.
Please hear my question. The broad-based government, in the way we look at it, with what you say the Constitution was providing, is actually not answering the question that brought Kenyans to the streets in June 2024.
Yes, correct.
It is not handling, the broad-based government did not handle those issues. The broad-based government appeased an issue on a day for there to be the calming or quelling of certain eruptions. But it did not handle the issues that came out of the finance bill. It did not handle the issues that people are crying about to date. The supposed 10-point agenda that the broad-based government is said to have brought in, not one item on that agenda has been handled. Not one. And it's been a year. So have Kenyans been hoodwinked?
I want you to make the questions very short because we have contributed the
Those
whole
are
length.
three. Those are three. Those are three.
Let me respond to it because if you come in again, by the time you stop, I'll have forgotten the things you are saying.
Go ahead.
Because when you people say that the things that took people to the streets were not solved by the broad-based government, actually, the broad-based Raila Odinga was roped into this because it was now very clear that this thing was not about what people demanded. These things were about people wanting the regime to collapse. Why do I say so? When we went to the street for the very first time, it was to amend. I'm talking on behalf of Kenya.
Let's be frank. You've never been on the street. You've always been on the other side. When you see tear gas, unatoroka sana. And so let's not talk about we go to the street. Talk about ODM going to the street.
I don't think ODM went to the streets. The people who went to the streets went to the streets and ODM came in to on the side of the government. But let's look at it this way. I want you to let me complete this sentence.
Right.
Because what I am telling you, it was clear that the reason for people were going to the streets was now not the reasons they were telling us, because they told us we want the finance bill amended. When it was amended, they want it fully dropped. When it is dropped, they wanted Ruto must go.
Did you hear Kimani Ichung'wah say? Did you hear Kimani Ichung'wah say this year that everything that was in that finance bill found its way back into legislation in Kenya?
And I sit there. No, this finance bill, 2024. They were now bragging that everything that was in the Finance Bill 2024 is being brought in. I have been sitting next to my friend Buddy for about 13 years. 13 plus years. See, next to him. As we moved into the senior ranks, we were together.
And now, that is why I want to tell you.
Can I please finish, my brother, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
When in the Finance Act 2024, we were complaining about it, I remember that even at the third reading, we were completely opposed to it. I came up with a banner, and I stood up, and I had 4 banners ready. One for Buddy, one for Millie, one for the other people who are next to me. Yeah? And I said, listen, let's do this. You know what Buddy told me? No. We don't do this. We'll be thrown out of the house, and B, we have to look for the future. I was just shocked. I said, okay, nitafanya tu mwenyewe. So this Finance Act of 2025 is back. Buddy is a very nice man. Buddy is an accountant. So they call him expert. Now that's fine. I have great faith in our Ministry of the Economists in the Ministry of Finance. The situation here is this, that these 2 or 4, let's talk about them, they went to to speak to Ruto before they had cleared with Baba. That is a fact, whether you can deny it or not. Although Ruto, President Ruto, and I respect him from that, did say that he spoke to Baba, it was a post-event. When the ODM so-called rebels were called to State House, I was called separately. And when I got there, I found them there. And when I spoke to the president, I said, Your Excellency, I have come here with the power of the people. These guys have not come here with the approval of the party leader. So that's where we are going. We were splitting. There has been rebels, they were splitting. They wanted to be thrown out of the party, did not get thrown out. Then suddenly they are now saying that we were the ones who carried your first thing in. So, coming back to the issue of ODM, and coming back, this is a party that we do not want to break up. And I think Oburu Odinga is a firm pair of hands for a time being. For the time being, and I hope he understands that.
So can I continue answering the question that I was asking? Because you have not given me the chance to answer the many issues he raised.
As you do, Ovido. Let us go back to 2022 before the president became the president. He was a deputy then. At some point in London, he said that the government, we have a mongrel of a government because the opposition had joined the government and the government had joined the opposition. Meaning that there had been compromises that were made. And clearly they were all geared towards 2022 election. Are we not playing the same scenario? Whereby you see an opposition completely...
I would like to answer that question too, but couldn't I wait until I answer this, then you bring it later?
Combine
let's go ahead, let's combine them.
Leave here unanswered.
Okay, let's go.
I explained to you that it became very clear that the anti-finance bill was not just an anti-finance protest. It was a protest to bring down that government. Because what he's saying, he thinks it's not a challenge. It is evidence that actually finance bill was not the problem, because when it came back, when people had forgotten what they really went to the seat for, they didn't even notice it.
Noticed it.
Please, let me just talk. I don't want people to talk when I'm talking.
Parliament. We noticed it, and we were forced.
Then what happened?
Many people did not.
What happened if you noticed it?
We did not. I don't vote for it.
Anyway, so let me proceed. So that is what is happening. These people were not on the streets. If you listen, I don't know whether you listen to what happened in Limuru 3, what was spoken there. The Gen Zs were roped into this thing because they are a generation which do not have the benefit of history.
By who? Roped in by who?
They do not know. They do not know that when Uhuru Kenyatta took power, the budget was 1.6 trillion. The next budget he read, which included a lot of tax increases, was 1.85. And nobody made noise.
But
why was there noise here? There was noise here because the presidency had changed into somebody else.
Made elsewhere. This is Gen Z.
Sabir,
let's keep this clear so that we can...
It is sensible to keep quiet. When I finish, you come, because we are not running away from here.
Well, as you
don't interrupt when I'm talking. Two people you can't hear.
Okay, let's keep this clear.
Yes.
The Gen Zs can hear you.
They can hear me.
They can hear you.
They can hear me.
Proceed.
Yeah, because... You know, Gen Zs have no benefit of history. They do not know what was happening before. So if you bring for them this, they evaluate it as if it is a fresh thing. In this country, people told us that President William Ruto wanted to sell the airport through Adani because Adani was coming for a PPP project. But the same people have no idea which organization did the expressway. They have no idea which organization did the SGR. It is because the person now doing the airport is not one of their own. This is the truth in this country that will never go away.
Oh, wait, you make it seem as though Kenyans do not reserve the right to want better for their nation.
They do.
That any time a voice rises in protest, it must be sponsored by somebody else, because you keep referring to they wanted to bring down the government. You make it seem like Kenyans don't reserve the right to speak up for something better. Why would you connect that to them being sponsored by somebody else?
They do. Let me tell you, this country, if you don't remind people that something is going there wrong, they will not even notice it. Some people must come out
and push others to the street. It took Raila Odinga to send people to the street that, oh, this is a problem, go to the streets. This is a problem, go to the... That is how it happens. Even the Gen Z uprising, there are people behind it. That explains why.
Do you understand why the Kenyans never listened to the former President Uhuru on his call to vote for one right honorable Raila Amolo Odinga? Because of the issues you mentioned, the SGR and the expressway. People were very in tandem with the corruption that had prevailed. That's why people wanted something different.
I think you are confusing Kenyans for the mountain. The people who didn't vote for Raila was the mountain. Do you know the difference between Raila and Ruto was 200,000 votes?
I do.
So Kenyans voted for Raila. The people who didn't vote for him are Uhuru's people, because Uhuru wanted to remain in power.
He couldn't have
prime minister. What could
the constitution does not have
let me complete it so that you understand it. Uhuru wanted to remain in power by being the prime minister of Kenya, who was going to appoint the cabinet through the BBI. When the BBI failed, Uhuru stopped supporting Raila. Did he take Raila to the mountain? No, because BBI had collapsed. Through BBI, there were 70 new seats that were going to elect Uhuru as an executive prime minister to form government as Raila becomes a non-executive president.
So what forms your belief now that because of that there was an extension of this protest through the Gen Z that was coming from Uhuru Kenyatta? Is this what you're saying?
Uhuru Kenyatta is you who are saying. I have not said Uhuru Kenyatta.
You mentioned Uhuru Kenyatta just now. You said...
Yeah, but I didn't stop. You are the one linking Gen Zs to Uhuru Kenyatta.
So I'm asking you the question very clearly.
And make it clear, one sentence.
Why would you imagine that Kenyans don't want a better Kenya and that somebody else has to sponsor their move?
They want a better Kenya, but somebody has to provide that leadership. They will never go to the street on their own. They never go.
They did.
They went to the streets on their own.
Yes.
My friend, Rigathi Gachagua told us, they have no leadership, they had no party, they had no tribe. Where did he get that from if he was not a Gen Z? He is the one behind all of this.
He was in government.
And they said all these things there. Listen to that thing, is on internet still now.
Rigathi Gachagua was the deputy president of Kenya during the Gen Z protest.
I went with Rigathi Gachagua to Kisii. The president is speaking and he's sitting in the car. He's given a microphone, speaks and returns to the car. And when he speaks exactly opposite what
I think we need to be clear at this point that these are the assertions. I think we need to be clear at this point that these are the assertions of one Odoyo Widi.
Of course.
And I would like to then give over to you, Shabir.
Okay. Now, you see, Bwana Widi, you cannot put your head in the sand like an ostrich. The Gen Zs are in Nepal, they're in Bangladesh, they were in Indonesia,
Madagascar.
Yes.
They are tired of corruption, they are tired of the cost of living, they are tired of the way that they're being taken for granted. Call them Gen Z, and they are intelligent people. Their history they may not understand the history that you want them to understand, like the British wanted us to understand, but they are aware. And they know that, and even their parents, that they know that they have not eaten that day. And you were told that Gen Zs are going around with iPhones and whatever. That was like when you want to discredit someone, you want to destroy something, you discredit them. The Gen Zs are here. They went to Tanzania. They're in Uganda. Kenya, it has been poured kidogo because Baba was there and we have sorted it out for a town. But it is still boiling underneath. And 2027 is going to be the day. All we're here to discuss is where is ODM. I am 100% loyal and have been to Raila Odinga. I have known the family for nearly 35 years. But the fact of the issue is ODM is a national party. Go into the internet and find out which is the top 3 parties in Africa. ANC, ODM, CCM now, I don't know whether it's going to go down. But those are the 3 parties which were built on the principle of the people. And if you look at all these issues, I have done my doctorate in leadership. And I can assure you of one thing. Political parties are rooted in the idea of institutionalization. Yeah, to facilitate the diversity is the idea. They act as a crucial link between the citizen and others. They are there for the citizen. Winnie has said nothing wrong. She has not attacked Wanga. I know Wanga is a junior MP to me, but I have sat with her. She was the chair of finance, and she has capacity and she has intelligence. And she is in Homa Bay. Let her show what she can do in Homa Bay before we go otherwise. This issue of deputy president, etc., having a demand, it's not there. It's going to break up the party. And our president is a very intelligent, a person who plans himself 5 years from now. Whether he took these people on a private capacity, whatever, it was good for him at that time. How he plays this issue, and I was there at the foundation dinner, how he plays it now is going to define 2027. If he allows ODM to break, he may feel that it's going to help him, but it is not. And ODM, you see, the way I heard our Mombasa in Mombasa, the governor and others, and Joho used to completely say even he will die before he ever supports Ruto. He said that, but he's not dead. He's not dead. So you see, Badi now is the greatest sycophant that I've ever seen. Mo used to say that you blow a balloon, and it blows and blows, the head blows very big, and it only needs a pin
to deflate.
Badi is an accountant like me. Badi is a member of the accountants in Kenya. I'm a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Britain. So there's no great difference. I mean, Kamanya was a great accountant, well known, number one everywhere. He wasn't able to make that difference because the executive runs the finance. Executive runs. So when the president says that he's very proud of my brother Badi, it's because Badi is doing everything he wants to do. Everything. To the extent that they're saying this and that and whatever. The other day I was in Mombasa and people were complaining. The Mombasa government has financed and taken over the whole of White Sands Hotel. Whole of White Sands. Yet the people, I was passing there was flooded with sewage. So I think people need to be part and parcel of the development. And when they put a person up there, he should not say, do as I do. Do as I say.
They should
Don't do as I do. Do as I say. That is not ODM's way.
Right. Now,
so I must support ODM as an existing party, although I left ODM.
Yes.
My heart is still with the original concept. I have lost a friend and a brother, and somebody has brought me up. I've heard other people that calling themselves orphans and chairman of orphans. Are they going to now find a father in Ruto?
Good question. And now it appears that now the ties that once bound ODM together are losing.
I want to finish one thing. You know, my brother Jonet, a very capable young man, but sometimes he loses direction. He used to say that we all Baba's cows. Not ODM's cows. Baba's cows. Now Baba is gone.
So where does the herd?
Where does the herd go?
That would be interesting to see.
That's
a good question. Is it going to the butcher? So it appears the ties that once bound ODM together are loosening. It appears the dalliance between the president and the ODM is becoming interesting. I think we wait to see how this develops. But I do hope that we can get to a situation whereby we put away all the side shows and the personalities and focus exactly how do you host an event when there is no sewer spillage? How do you host an event where there can be political tolerance, so that we can have divergence of opinions and build a better country?
Because it does seem as if
40 days. For me, I didn't want to go. It is 40 days, even Muslims and also in the Luo tradition. Let him. What is wrong with it? Doing it 10 days later.
Let's quickly wrap this up with Owidi. Also necessary for us to understand that the voice of the people, that seems to have come out quite some, and it still continues to resonate in the minds of many. That the voice of the people, the care of the people, the livelihoods of Kenyans that must be secured during with good governance seems to never make it to the front lines of this conversation. When are we going to move from this political shenanigans and actually focus on what good governance and constitutionalism demands?
Now, in the last 3 months or 6, what is wrong with the government that you would like to be done differently? What is this government doing that you?
I don't think we have enough time to do the list.
You should come back.
You should come back for an hour when we can discuss that.
But whenever you are talking to me about what is wrong with this government, you must compare it with the past. Because if it is not compared, then we know it is the normal way of doing things. But some people think the current president does not deserve that seat.
Perhaps our failure, and I can confess to this, is that we compare.
And if we have failed drastically before, we must get out of that failure.
This is what I'm saying. Our failure perhaps is in comparing the government and the undoing of the government with what the Constitution provides and the ideals that we hold for this country. We cannot keep going back to the past. We are walking away from every past regime. If we keep saying that a former president is better than the current president, it means we are doing zero work. We have to live to the ideals of ourselves as a Kenyans and the Constitution. We cannot keep on borrowing from the past. We have to invest in the future that we want and build towards that.
And let me tell you, my brother.
Right.
When there is a person in the house and you want to remove it to put a new one, the new one you want to put in must stand there for scrutiny. And the people standing out there who are waiting to replace President William Ruto, who are they? Are they Rigathi Gachagua?
You don't seem to like Rigathi Gachagua.
Are they Kalonzo Musyoka?
We have so many.
We have had those people here over these years.
Yes.
And we needed to compare those people, not when one is in the field. President William Ruto is like a player in the field. You can't compare it with a player sitting on the bench, because a player sitting on the bench is incapable of committing any offense in the field.
For once, I agree with you. I agree with you.
So
those people.
You put Kalonzo there. We were there with him when Ruto was taking power and he did not qualify. You put Matiang'i there, the very man who disobeyed 12 court orders in 3 years.
Yes.
So there is nobody better. In elections, you have 10 people, you take the better of them.
I agree with you that the lot you have mentioned is not an option. That's why Kenyans are saying we are going to Fagia Wote, make a new beginning for the country.
So bring the cleaner.
So the cleaner ones, it's not here. We are not voting today. We have a whole year to scrutinize and analyze. 2 years. It depends. The Supreme Court might favor us and bring it to next year. We see. Because it talks about the 5th year. That's a constitutional debate we could have another day. But whatever time, whether 1 year or 2 years, we must agree as Kenyans that we deserve better.
Indeed.
And we cannot keep on recycling. We have to start afresh.
Beautiful wrap up. And our time
is not an ODM man. I am not an ODM man. I'm independent, but he is clearly UDA. And he has clearly said that, and he's been very, very critical in the past of Raila Amolo Odinga, and he's been very critical about ODM and everything else to do with it. That is his right.
It is clear also because our time is running out and we've gone over. But if anything remains clear at this point from this conversation, just as Joe has said this morning, is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. A big broom is needed in all of the corners, because if the rhetoric of politics still centers around individuals and not issues, we've got a long way to go.
That's right.
The Honorable Shakil Shabir is the Member of Parliament for Kisumu East, has been here with us this morning. Ndu Okoh, political and policy analyst. Asante sana to you both for being here. It's 5 minutes after 8. The conversation continues after this. Good morning.
Thank you. Asante.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The hearing of Albert Ojwang's murder case is scheduled to commence on January the 12th, 2026, with the prosecution preparing a substantial evidence report. Senior Director at the Office of Public Prosecution, Jalson Makori, will lead the case, relying on 16 terabytes of CCTV footage and testimony from 6 witnesses, all under protective custody. Among those facing charges is the former officer commanding Central Police Station, Samson Talam, alongside several other police officers. The case is set for a preliminary mention on December the 15th, during which further evidence will be disclosed. Senate Speaker and Pamoja African Alliance Party leader Amason Kingi has officially joined campaigns for the Magarini constituency by-election, endorsing ODM candidate Harrison Kombe. Speaking in Mambrui, where he was accompanied by Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro and other leaders, Kingi said the broad-based government had settled on Kombe after it became clear that he was the most preferred candidate. Kingi urged Magarini residents to support the broad-based government for the sake of development.
Nimembeba Harrison Garama Kombe. Na mimi nataka niwapatie sababu kwa nini Garama Kombe. Manake kura ya tarehe 27 tuipige na malengo na sababu. Si kupiga tu kutafuta mbunge. Kura ya tarehe 27 mwezi huu ni kura ambayo itafanya mawili. Aidha mwaka na nusu ujao utapata maendeleo, ama mwaka na nusu ujao utapata maendeleo.
In the Mbere North constituency by-election, DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua urged residents to support Newton Karish of the DP party.
Mimi naomba nyinyi kama kiongozi wenu kwa heshima ya kwamba 9,000 votes ya Karish mjaze asubuhi mapema. Si ndio? Mimi nimekuja na Metheka Lentore, ameenda pale ameongea na wa Meru 4,000 wamekubali. Ukiongeza ya wa Meru na ya Mumiji ni 13,000. Mimi nimeongea na Wakikuyu ni 5,000 wamekubali. Jaibe Muturi ameongea na watu ya Kanyombora wamekubali. Lene Kevuti ameongea na watu yake wamekubali. Je, nyinyi watu wa Mumeji mmekubali?
For his part, former Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi urged voters to reject UDA candidate Leonard Muriuki, noting that a vote for Muriuki would amount to supporting President Ruto, whom he accused of lying to Kenyans.
Nyinyi munajua na msindanganywe. We want to demonstrate to you that William Ruto is a liar. Huyu jamaa anasema uongo kama ameshikilia Biblia. William Ruto lies with the Bible on his hands. He doesn't blink na hana hata haya. Wasikia hivyo mimi nawaambia? Munasikia hivyo nawaambia? Kama mtu anawaambia atesha inafanya kazi, nyinyi ndio wagonjwa, munaenda hospitali na mbila hailipwi. Muongo ama si muongo?
In Nyamweya County, Bonya Matuta Ward MCA Julius Matwere has filed a motion to remove Governor Amos Nyaribo from office. The MCA wants the governor impeached on 2 grounds.
I wish to give notice of motion for removal of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the governor of Nyamweya County, from office by way of impeachment on the following grounds. Number 1, gross violation of the Constitution of Kenya and other laws, and abuse of office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This marks the 3rd impeachment attempt against Governor Nyaribo in 2 years after 2 previous efforts failed. The attempts centered on alleged abuse of office, constitutional violations and other breaches of law. The latest attempt faces uncertainty as 10 MCAs are still in court, challenging their own removal for missing 8 consecutive county assembly sittings. The UN Security Council has voted in favor of a US drafted resolution that endorses US President Donald Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza. Included in the plan is the establishment of an international stabilization force, to which the US says multiple unnamed countries have offered to contribute. The resolution was backed by 13 countries, including the UK, France and Somalia, with none voting against the proposal. Russia and China abstained. Adopting it was an important step in the consolidation of the ceasefire, a spokesperson for UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said. Hamas has rejected the resolution, saying it fails to meet Palestinians' rights and demands. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
102.5 Spice FM. Kisumu.
Up to 60% off on 900 plus quality items. Naivas Kikwetu Black November 2025 tunacheza kama sisi in a bigger and a better way just for you. Ukidai TV tukuna the best brands. Ukidai fridge tukuna the best quality. Ukidai blenders na microwaves utakuwa spoiled for choice. Na ukifanya shopping kuna amazing weekly and monthly prizes. Unaweza kuwa driver wa a brand new car ama senke this season. Usikubali kupitwa hiki kwetu Black November season. Shop at any Naivas store or online at naivas.co.ke. Save up to 60% and stand a chance to win big. Naivas saves you money.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, here we are. It's 12 minutes after 8 o'clock. Conversations continue this morning. But as you're getting into the festive season, one thing you need to remember that Naivas Kikwetu here for you. Are you ready to kick off the festive season in Kikwetu style? Let's do it. We're talking about unbeatable deals, flash sales, and deals of the day up to 60%. This is your chance to stock up, gift early, and enjoy value that truly saves you money. This is Naivas. Listen up, guys. Naivas is celebrating 35 years of Kikwetu excellence in a big way. Through the Naivas at 35 Kikwetu promotions, they're saying asante to all Kenyans with amazing prizes weekly and monthly. We're giving away 6 cars, 45 motorcycles, fridges, cookers, microwaves, and even the iconic Naivas Mbuzi. And we're spicing it up a little this year with Naivas chicken for your spicy Christmas. And the best part, you could win instantly at the till every day, everywhere. But just make sure you are a Naivas loyalty member. And how do you do it? Shop for any amount and you're in. So shop, save and win Kikwetu style at a Naivas Kiloko near you or online. Black November, the Kikwetu style only at Naivas, because Naivas saves you money every day. Well, over the weekend, we saw things. And then you read things and then you hear things and you wonder, where are we?
What did you see over the weekend?
Let me tell you in just a minute. After we greet you. Gloria Woba is here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well, in high spirits, in good health. We thank God.
Very good.
Yeah.
Before we get into what we saw, what we didn't see, or what we heard or didn't hear, we're in Guinea this week.
Okay.
Proverb. All right. Proverb is from Guinea. In West Africa, of course, former French colony. Many would say still present French colony, but that's a discussion for another day. The proverb today is this: knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested.
Knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. So we are saying ignorance is bliss. Well, there.
Short and sharp.
It's like a garden, and if you don't show intent to go in and cultivate, which means to do your research, to do. To me, when I hear things about knowledge, I'm like fake news, and perpetrators of fake news, and people who want to ask you to do for them research.
Yes.
So if you don't cultivate it, then you'll not reap.
This is true.
Okay.
So, knowledge and understanding. Definitely. So you were asking what we heard.
Yeah, what did you hear over the weekend?
Let me tell you. So, there's a story here done by a good friend of mine, actually, who's a local correspondent for the New York Times. Abdi Latif Abdi wrote a story about, of course, Kenyan workers who go abroad, in this case the Gulf, and specifically Saudi Arabia, who then find themselves in a bit of a pickle. That they're mistreated, they're not paid right, and they're not paid on time. And even with the abuse, and this is not a new story. this is not a new story. This has been happening for the longest time. We've been raising it and bringing it up and saying there have to be better mechanisms through which people who leave Kenya to go to the Gulf to work then will operate within, whether it is the metrics for payment, whether it is how they're treated. There should be one standard agreement about how this is done. So, I mean, that notwithstanding, the thing that would have caused an issue is that, you know, the agencies that normally send these people to other countries, you go, you fill an application, you get it done, you go. That some of these agencies are now being linked in terms of ownership to the president and his daughter. And the people who travel are linked directly to these agencies. So some start to wonder why. And why we would have called you to have this conversation with us, to maybe explain to us, is that you were right in the center of the storm around jobs for Kenyans in other countries, and you came under some fire because of demanding for the right thing to be done. How is it possible that jobs being created for Kenyans also being mistreated, sometimes Kenyans showing up in a box under regulation that's required for certain things to happen, and then we hear that some of these agencies belong to the president? I mean, it just seems like conflict of interest hitting us in the face.
So now let me shock you.
Okay, here we go.
Let me shock you. First off, Abdi from New York Times. I got a phone call from Abdi of New York Times. Early May. And he tried to have a sit down with me early May, eventually mid-May, somewhere around that time.
This year?
Yeah, this year. I told him, I'm busy. I have so many things happening between committee meetings and whatever. So I told him, why don't you come to Parliament? And we can have lunch at the Parliament dining hall. And then I can, you know, talk to you about whatever it is that you want to hear from me, which was about the labor export, because by that time there was a lot of news. We had started the Senate inquiry that I had pushed for at the labor committee, the Senate labor committee. So Abdi came. We were sitting by the garden at the Parliament spot there at the garden, and I picked my lunch, and there were two other senators who joined me much later, and we started talking. It was a very laid-back conversation. He was literally just asking me, so what's going on? You know, we've been following, you know, the whistleblowing that you've done on these fake diaspora jobs and what's really happening, and, you know, the scam that it is. And it was a casual conversation. And then the treasurer for UDA, Josphat Nyakundi, walks by the table, and then he says, former nominated senator. So by this time, I've not been removed.
Not yet, yeah.
We've not done anything. I'm sitting. And by banter, I tell him, yes, good afternoon, one term member of Parliament. And then he says, this is your last lunch in this garden. You're going home. We are going to remove you.
Okay.
Yeah, continue doing those things. Those things that you're doing.
Even this lunch that you're having here.
So, you know me, in hindsight now, when I reflect, is when I'm like, oh...
And this is in presence of Abdi?
At that time, in presence of Abdi. In fact, Abdi then looked at me like, you know,
what have I got myself into here?
And then he said, are they serious? They're going to remove you? I said, I don't know. But you know, with these people, you can never tell.
Right.
But he said it. So he knew who I was talking to. And he knew that I was actually serious about this inquiry, because I knew that a lot of things were happening and I hadn't even scratched the surface of it. So... later, I came to find out. So, obviously, when the article came out, I called Abdi and I was like, what? And he said, yeah, Gloria, I was sitting with you when this member of Parliament came and said, this is your last
lunch
in Parliament. So,
was it actually your last lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, we laughed about it and everything. And you know why I was laughing? And when the story came out, and I was like, aha. So even the fact that they allowed for the Senate inquiry to just happen to the extent that I would give all the evidence that I had, they just wanted to know how much information I had. After that, it was shut down. We had the broad-based government come into play. The vice chair of the committee was changed, and Senator Crystal Asige was put there. And she was given instructions to kill it, and they killed it. So what they did eventually is that they said, oh, you know, if you've been conned and if you've had interactions with any of these fake agencies, why don't you go to the NHIF building or some building somewhere in town and, you know, register yourself. And that was the end of the story. And instructions were given, very strict instructions were given to the chair of the committee and to the vice chair of the committee. You will later see that actually the chair and the vice chair, the chair of the committee is, I forget his name. The vice chair is Crystal Asige. You later see them hanging around with Alfred Mutua. The story dies.
Wow. And the greatest mobilizer.
So even I was learning through the New York Times about this whole other angle. Because at the time, what I was fighting was that there's so many people who are being asked for illegal fees. They are being conned out of a lot of money, and they're actually not going for these jobs. Thousands and thousands of Kenyans who paid 15,000, some who paid 45,000, never ended up anywhere. And then there are few who ended up where they went and later discovered that if they were signing up for a job as a driver or a caregiver or whatever, they didn't end up in those jobs. In fact, they ended up in very weird jobs. And so when I was reading the New York Times and the slave trade and everything, I was like, oh my God.
This is where you were sending people, Gloria.
This is why I was so violently removed and shut down, and, you know, all the policemen, you know, taking me down at the Senate premises. You know, today as I was coming in, the nominated Senator Tabitha walked in, and I'm like, man, I'm grown, because these are some of the people who also were part of, they were being sent to make sure that I was hounded and removed, and they pushed the processes within parliament till today. So I was looking at her and I said, you know, and I was like, I'm at peace. Because I can sleep at night knowing that I didn't send Kenyans to be killed. I didn't con Kenyans. I'm not fraternizing with the enemy, and I am not part of this scam of a government.
But you know what you're saying, Gloria? You're essentially saying that, okay, so this is interesting because just 2 weeks ago, the president did sit down again, of course, with another professional, James Bays, and he said that 430,000 jobs have been created for Kenyans within the country, outside the country. But then if we do a link, as we're often taught to do, between that and what we see, essentially what we're saying is that out of that number, that there are very many a Kenyan who have gone, and for some reason Saudi Arabia keeps showing up on the radar here, that they're getting into these jobs. On paper it looks like one thing, but in reality it is something else. There are women who are being sexually abused.
First of all,
there inhumane treatment that's happening. Some of them come back in a box.
Your statement needs to be corrected, because I need to tell you that the president, William Ruto, he's a liar. He's like, take it from me. Take it from me. Sometimes I listen now to some of the things that he says. I'm like, but you're lying. The other day, he said that his cabinet secretary and his PSs and his team at the ICT ministry went ahead and rushed to get us into some form of partnership to get into the data center industry. And, you know, they didn't do their proper research to find out that, you know, we don't have capacity in terms of power and downtime. And I was like, but you are lying. You are a liar. I have had a one-on-one conversation with you when I was just sworn in, and I was trying to get to be a chair of the ICT committee, and I told you that, in fact, specifically, that we need to bring the data center industry to Kenya. And then I said, but we need to work on two things. We don't have capacity on electricity, and we need to understand the whole economics of substations. So when I heard him say that, I'm like, but you are lying. You're feigning ignorance, and that is such a lie. So all these things that he said, in fact, nowadays I look and I'm like, you are a liar.
But Gloria,
you are lying. You are lying about the jobs. You are lying. By the way, the other day he went to Saudi Arabia and he carried the Senate Labour Committee to legitimize his actions. So the Senate Labour Committee, my colleagues, I was seeing them there taking selfies and posting photos on, and I know how much it costs to take a committee to a place. They use over 10 million for sure. And then they came back and said that they've signed a good agreement and Kenyans are going to be protected, they're going to be paid well. I'm like, but you guys are lying. You guys are actually lying. And you guys, the Senate committee, was carried to legitimize a private business that was being discussed. And it has nothing to do with the oversight of the executive. If anything, it is about rubber stamping and endorsing lies.
Looking at the labor export, because that's the crux of the matter. Kenyans have the right to fetch for greener pastures. Kenyans have a right to travel and work elsewhere because, it also builds the economy. We don't have enough jobs. We don't have enough economic activities happening. But the sad bit is that as Kenyans have done that, it turns out that the foreign exchange earner is now the labor export. I think the sad bit is that now the president himself and his family, so to say, are being now mentioned to be part of that whole system. But again, I've had the same president say that they were able to weed out almost 500 rogue agencies.
Wow.
You've had the same.
Ask me about that. When we sat in the Senate, when Alfred Mutua came and said, I'm going to be removed from office, it's because I demanded to see the list of these rogue agencies whose licenses have been declined. Because while he was sitting there saying that they have actually declined licenses for rogue agencies, the guy sitting behind him was rogue agent 001.
Wow.
Who they work together. So if you ask me, the only thing, because they can't give you a list of these rogue agencies, and every time you ask for it, there's always a story.
Why not?
Because the whole idea is to monopolize the system. Is to make sure if this agency XYZ is doing a good job, making sure it's safeguarding Kenyans, making sure that it's negotiating good rates for Kenyans, is to make sure this person who's blocking us from doing business is removed so that us, we can sell Kenyans. And when I say us, I'm talking about what New York Times has listed, not me. I did not say the president is involved in this. It is New York Times that they've done an investigative feature. And it's basically they want to monopolize the space.
I want to hold on to that for a minute, Gloria, because you talk about the fact that this last, I don't know if it was benchmarking or signing of an agreement, whereby we've seen that I think the amount now that Kenyans would be earning, Saudi Arabia was 34,000 and some odd shillings was the basic. At least you will not earn less than that if you are leaving the country, which
it has always been,
right? So it seems as though it's a landmark thing that they've arrived at.
It is not a landmark. It has always been.
However, Senator Thangwa was mentioned in this story, and he seemed to have been very surprised that these are some of the things that were going on. Number one, that Kenyans are being mistreated so badly in some of these work conditions, and that they are a woman who, according to her family in Kenya, is living on the street because she's been kicked out for whatever the reason may be. But that shouldn't be the situation. He seemed very surprised. And then also even more surprised that some of these agencies are linked. I mean, come on, Gloria, you must know that some of these agencies are linked to top government officials. They own them. Not that they have people, they own them. The agencies are theirs. How does this work? How do you separate
You need
the
to understand. For a proper parliamentary inquiry, either the National Assembly or the Senate, for an inquiry to come to conclusion, a report has to be tabled. And when I started the Senate inquiry at the Labour Committee about this whole situation, there was panic because these are some of the things that would have been highlighted, that the owners of these agencies are in fact government officials. And now that New York Times has also shown us, it's the first family led by the president and the daughter. And at the end of the day, if you look at the inquiry that I started, we only did 2 days of the inquiry. After which the clerk of the Senate, together with all powers that bid, you could literally see the machinery of them shutting down that inquiry. At one point, we had witnesses who had been called in to come and give their testimonies as to who conned them, how. They even had the evidence. That sitting was cancelled by the clerk of the Senate. And every single time now I look back and think about it, I realize what they wanted to find out is how much does she know? And then once you know how much she knows, shut it down. Because if you continue, you see, obviously the witnesses would come, they would talk about it. We had 2 witnesses. There was a gentleman who came and said that, in fact, he has just been rescued from I don't know whether that is Vietnam, I don't know even which country. So they were afraid that there'd be more witnesses coming in and this thing will become bigger than what it is, and eventually probably we would have landed where the New York Times landed, to find out that in fact it is a state-led massacre.
Okay, so let
me
clear.
tell you,
I just wanted to be clear on one thing here, is that this company that's allegedly involved here is not that it is an agency said to be owned by the president and his daughter, but that an agency that provides insurance for the labor export agencies. You get what I mean? So that company is what is said to be owned by the president and his daughter.
It doesn't matter which company it is. And in fact, today I'm not here to discuss New York Times. What matters is that even your name as a state officer
featuring there
is featuring there. You know, it doesn't matter if it's featuring there about you provided insurance, that you even were the ones selling the tickets to fly to Saudi Arabia. Conflict of interest is right there. And also then it now begs the question, why the hell was that inquiry shut down? Because you see, if your name never featured there, if the name of the president never featured there, or his daughter, or the first lady, or anyone, or any state official, the minister, you know, today we would be talking about how we need to get to the bottom of this, and these people must be arrested, and how these people must be brought to book. But because we all know what happens when you blow the whistle with this administration, you see, there's a very loud silence. In fact, Kenyans have been calling me, those who knew what was happening when I was being hounded from office, they've been calling me and telling me, you know, you've been vindicated. And you know, for us, we are just waiting because we hope that the next government that comes in will hold these people accountable. Alfred Mutua needs to go to jail straight. He needs to go to committee. All these people who've killed Kenyans, because they've killed Kenyans. You know, we are not just talking about sending people to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Women are dying in Saudi Arabia.
And others, remember, they are held in Russia.
There are people who are stuck out there.
Contractual misrepresentation.
And these crimes, they don't have an expiry date. It should not be that, you know, that hiyo kitu ilikuwa ya last. These people should be held accountable. If there's one thing that I want to champion and that is driving me to go back as an elected leader to parliament, is that these people must be held accountable for every single thing that they've done, for the women they've killed, for the lives that have been lost, for all that money that they have actually literally squandered, stolen through all these corrupt dealings. We in 2027, 2028 maximum, 2028 May, committee should be hot with all these people.
As the inquiry was shaping up, were you privy to the proxies? To the proxy?
I didn't know all of this. When I read this, I'm telling you, Abdi of New York Times sat down with me in May, a few weeks before I was taken out. And he, even when I called him, he said, I remember that MP who came and said, this is the last lunch you're going to have here. Continue doing what you're doing. So these people knew. All these people know, because they are all in it. They are all doing business. That's why they will defend this government to the grave, because they are part of the murder. They are part of the stealing. All these nominated senators who are walking around here, you know, trying to defend the murder, the deaths of people in Saudi Arabia, to defend all this corruption, they are part and parcel of it. They have eaten the blood money, and that they are tied. That's why they can't speak up. Because, you know, once you have eaten that money, utaongea ukiwa pande gani?
Well, but then the president tells you as a Kenyan, as a job-seeking Kenyan, that if you get a contract outside, we have negotiated with Germany, for example, because that was very popular at some point. If you land a contract, we are even going to pay for a passport for you to be out within 48 hours. We are going to facilitate your travel. And then it turns out that the same government, because the president speaks as the government, he doesn't speak just as an individual. Then the government itself comes out that it is the one that is running this racketeering scheme. Then where do Kenyans seek refuge? Especially now coming from a parliamentary position. What should Kenyans do?
First of all, Parliament is completely compromised. I've told you. I just walked in with one of my colleagues here coming to defend the murder and the theft of this organization, because our hands are dirty. And this is the stress that the Gen Z had. Because they were like, where are we going to cry? Tutenda kulilia wapi? Kitambo, we used to go to our members of parliament. They would do inquiries. They would call the people. There would be some level of, you know, checks and balances. But now there isn't. Because every single place that a Kenyan should go and be able to seek refuge and say this is happening to me has been compromised. Every single institution has been broken down. Look at what EACC is being used to do.
Yeah.
Just now I've heard the news and you're talking about Governor Nyaribo from Nyamira being impeached. Yes, I'm not saying that man is innocent. That man is not innocent. I'm not saying he has not done any wrong things. But if you look at the timings of how these processes are being used, let me say, used as a tool, that if you don't want to play ball with us, I can tell you outright, and not because I support Governor Nyaribo for anything, he needs to be held accountable for all the funds that might have been lost under his watch and whatnot. But the reason they're removing him is not because of that. They're removing him because they've realized today the Star newspaper has the numbers at the front page and you can see the battleground and whatever. So of course, Star newspaper is not always right, but you can see what is going on there. They're removing him because the deputy governor of Nyamira happens to be UDA, let me say, happens to be an agent of this rogue government. And so they've realized that Kisii is really, even the 10% they thought they would have, they're not going to get it. So they've realized they must impeach. This Nyaribo guy has refused to play ball with government. Unlike our Kisii county governor, who has outrightly gone to join the government, and that is where me and him parted ways. But the Nyamira governor said, no, he cannot. He's not going to be part of this rogue regime. So they're impeaching him because they need to put in their person. It's all about private businesses, theft. Even the change, you've seen, we're looking for, we need to get a new currency, a 5,000 Kenya shilling note. That's because these State House boys, they've been carrying money. It's becoming impossible to carry money. Those kilos are too many. Now they want to compress it to a 5,000 shilling so that they can reduce the kilos. They are stealing money left, right, and center. It has to be stolen in cash to be taken to wherever it's taken. It's proving to be a logistical nightmare to carry these thousands of Kenya shillings around. So now they want to get a 5,000 Kenya shilling note so that they can steal properly ahead of the 2027 election. There's nothing you see in this newspaper is about what you see. It boils down to the money that is being stolen by, let me call this gang. It's a gang.
Yes.
But you know what worries me?
It is a gang that is led by the head of state.
What worries me, though, is that the people who, I mean, it sounds almost, it's
like
it's moronical.
We're in trouble.
Here we are, and that there are people who are within this circus, and they are the representatives of the people. They see this, by your own admission, are part of this, but continue to perpetuate this condition that, if anything, hurts the people of Kenya as opposed to helping them. So it becomes a contest among just a chosen few who will ensure that they remain in power and they sacrifice the people of Kenya on the altar of their own ambition.
That is what is happening.
And people in governance today representing the people are okay with that.
Not
How
only
do you
are they
explain
okay, they will die defending their thuggery and the murders.
So let me ask, we have international labor laws, especially when you have like a government-to-government agreement that you can
We didn't have government-to-government agreements, by the way.
But it was mentioned by the president.
Alfred Mutua sat
And
in
the
the
CS.
Senate committee, and when I asked about the government-to-government agreement, there are processes and procedures when it's G2G, and he is on record admitting that the things he went to do in Germany, the things he went to do in Saudi Arabia are actually not government-to-government. He said he went there to talk on behalf of the businessmen, to make sure that the business that is being done between that country and Kenya is fair game.
But that's not what they reported to Kenyans.
He is on record. There is a whole... in fact, I remember raising the Citizen TV and all those other media houses were in shock. He said, no, it is not a government-to-government. And that explains what is happening. He went to broker deals for businessmen.
For businessmen. Now, which he shouldn't.
A government-to-government... First of all, a government-to-government arrangement will then define even the procedures within how you take that laborer all the way to there. For instance, a government-to-government agreement between, let's say, us and Germany or Saudi, why the hell would you be asking people to pay a medical fee? And if they're paying a medical fee, why don't you send them to Kenyatta or a government institution? Instead, it is government, it is private hospitals that have also again partnered through the ministry to make money. If it's a G2G arrangement again, why the hell would you be saying we are removing money from Uwezo Fund to buy tickets for and the tickets are not that money from Uwezo Fund or from this fund that they are removing is not being sent direct to the airline. It's being sent to the agent. So this is supposed to be money to buy a ticket for someone to go to Saudi or Germany. But instead of it being sent to an airline, it is being sent to an agent. The agent removes their percentage, the agent makes their profit, and the agent maybe buys a ticket. But all that money, in fact, if you go to Kisii, there are over 100 and something people who took the loans. They are now being charged payback. They have to now start paying the monthly. And they're not working.
And they've never gone anywhere.
They've never gone anywhere. And guess what? That money was already deducted and sent to the agent.
For what?
So it was put in their bank account.
Yeah.
And then they were instructed to send it to the agent. So that the agent can apparently buy and purchase visa, what. Those people are still in Nyamweya.
Okay, hang on. But if you pay an agent today to help you do certain things, get your visa, get your ticket, get your travel insurance, whatever, at some point there will be movement. Somebody will say, you filled a form, something, you've made a payment. Here is a receipt for $11.
Because the procedure, they know how to scam you, so they keep you busy for 6 months plus. You're just thinking you're applying, you're sending, or you didn't send the right one, the photo you sent is not PDF, send it to PDF. 6 months back and forth to a year. By the time I was asking for the inquiry, we were past 6 months.
From the Ministry of Labour?
Yes. I'm telling you this. I have gotten in a lot of trouble because of this. I was violently removed because of this. And I am telling you that we need God to come down and save this country. Because I've told you, there is a gang.
At one?
Led by the head of state.
The cabal.
It is about looting.
Yeah.
It is about making money. It is about the State House boys. And it has nothing to do with the interests of Kenyans.
At one time, Gloria, the president himself went to a church. I think it was in Roysambo, Kasarani, somewhere. And him and that church and the bishop, and they agreed they're going to host recruitment of so many youth.
And you remember they even brought pay bill numbers?
Yes.
And Alfred Mutua sat there.
Yes.
And people started paying. And you remember he sat there for almost an hour.
Indeed.
You know, if I'm lying, I want you to go back to that church and ask for the number of people who traveled. You know, the thing that really annoys me about this government is some things you don't need to argue with Oroba. Who the hell is Oroba? Who is she? She's lying. Just post in this daily newspaper the 430,000 Kenyans who have gone. Just put the names the way we write the names when people are recruited at KDF. See, we put names. See, we publicize and we say, and then you can see Nani from here, and just put the names. He can't. The Senate inquiry asked him, bring the names of the people who have traveled. Because you're saying this thing is not a scam. To date, that is why they changed the leadership, put Crystal Asige in there, shut down that thing. And to date, if your conscience is clear, by the time you are shutting down that inquiry, don't you think at the bare minimum you owe Kenyans a list of the people who have benefited from this diaspora jobs? To date, there is no list. To date, they cannot tell you how many Kenyans have gone. Because the truth of the matter is that whatever was being done through government was just a form of public relation and to showcase that they're doing something about, jobs and whatever. And then beneath the surface, there's this whole other, let me say, black market where Kenyans are actually being sold to slavery, which I was also reading about. Which the moment that thing came out, there are women who are sending SOSs. They thought they were going to be nannies and housekeepers. They are now sex slaves in Saudi.
And what are their options now? Because the damage has been done, as you rightly put it. Women are suffering, but I mean both men and women. We have men stranded in war zones because they left here thinking they're going to be security agents.
And they don't care. Nobody cares about them.
So what are the options of our fellow Kenyans?
What do we do? Let me ask you, what do we do? The only thing that I can do, because in my position, my hands are tied. By the way, I was taken to court by Alfred Mutua and we are still having a court case. I was sued for all sorts of things. They have hounded me down. They have done all sorts of... Parliamentary Service Commission, contrary to the law, has held on to all my benefits and my money. They are, behind the scenes, the thing that I'm dealing with. Let me tell you something. What are our options? The only thing that I can do is that I speak. I have a voice. I speak. I tell people don't dare. You, Alfred Mutua, in another 2 weeks will post vacancy, 1,000 drivers needed in Saudi Arabia. People will still go and give him money. People will still go and register. What can we do as Kenyans? Honestly speaking, I'm not trying to sell despair, but I'm trying to say this. We're in a situation where we are being led by thugs, liars, murderers, and rapists.
That's some serious stuff that you're saying, Gloria.
Yeah. That's what we're being led with. These are people, this is the reality. And in this reality, you must ask yourself as a Kenyan, because now you are aware, we are being led by thugs, liars, rapists, and conmen. Are you going to treat them the same way you treat normal leaders who care about you? No, you will not. You must treat them with aggression. You must not fall into the traps of tumenda kanisa tunaomba. These people are not men of God. These people are, in fact, God has left them. If any time, I want to tell Kenyans to go back and read the 7 books that were omitted from the Bible, where they talk about the spirits in human bodies. Those are the people that are leading you. Evil manifestation in human bodies who are out for your blood, to kill you, to murder you, to rape you. And so you cannot treat that person as if they're a leader. When you see them, treat them like you would treat the devil.
The argument that may hold some water, Gloria, is that if you had not been treated, or if you had not met the condition that you did, then being removed from Senate and all of this, that you would not be speaking in this manner.
But I was here when I was a senator. When I was I'm still a senator legally. I was in this studio before even the Senate inquiry. By the way, you know, the Kenyans don't know a lot of things. There are so many things that I refused to participate in that they tagged me as a problematic
senator
person. This person should not be in our team. They're problematic. She has refused to close her eyes in the committees. She keeps hounding our ministers and cabinet secretaries over things. The cabinet secretaries will go and report me to the president. Tell that senator of yours to stop asking us things. You know? There are so many things I have refused to participate. Some I cannot even talk and engage in. Some I can't. I have totally refused. I keep asking people, I need you to go and check if I have ever traveled with the president to anywhere. If I've ever entered any of his choppers. I refused. Because I know goddamn well what happens. And I just refused a lot of things. I was like, because I know what happens in that space, why would I put myself in that space? I refused to play ball in the committees. I refused to keep quiet and put my head down. I refused to just be silent when a lot of things were happening in the floor of the house. I opposed the majority leader more than anyone in that house. That's something that you should not do. For your majority leader, when they propose a motion or whatever, you should always support them. Go and check I'm on record. I've opposed them. It's just that people choose not to see that. I refused repeatedly. When people were being called and told we have to go and sell this narrative for affordable houses. You know, the first week I went on TV and talked about affordable houses and the good that it's doing in terms of jobs.
You did?
And then I went back and I asked, okay, that's good. We are creating jobs. But why the hell are you asking people to buy the houses? And these houses have already been bought by the people. I asked it in State House at a parliamentary group meeting. And my colleagues were just saying, you are playing with fire. You are playing with fire. I have been so consistent in pushing back on so many evil things, some that people Kenyans cannot see, to the point that they said we are tired.
Of you?
Yeah.
So
we are tired and the labor, this labor thing.
Yeah.
Because the labor thing, I got a phone call from one of the CSs, who is now not a CS, from Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
And he told me, don't touch that. He told me, Roba, wachana na hiyo kitu. Nimekwambia wachane nayo. I said, watu wangu wamekoniwa. He said, nimekwambia wachane na hiyo kitu, itakuingiza kwa shida. So I got a call from a PS.
Right.
Who is giving money to these people.
To travel.
To tell me, don't, you know, we are dealing with ABCD. And the funny thing is that this PS, other than this job as the permanent secretary, this PS has never had another job before this one. And that's why this person was chosen to be put there, because there's nothing, they have no experience in anything beyond in this position. I got phone calls to the extent of someone in that family telling me to stop.
So you stood on principle.
I I stood on business. I stood on principle.
You exhibited good
And
leadership.
it cost
One would argue.
And it cost me.
And then it lands you in this predicament. So what does it say about your colleagues who are still serving, who are still silent? Because this is not the only wrong
My issue
operation
is not even, my issue is not so much with the ones who are silent.
Yeah.
My issue is with the people who actually go out of their way to defend
the
rogueness. You see, being silent is maybe their way of dealing with it. Which I still say, if you're silent, you are encouraging the perpetrator.
Right, correct.
But my issue is not so much with the silent ones. My issue is the ones, like I've told you, my colleague was here. She's going to studio to defend the murder and the crimes of this government. And I look at them and I say, I really have a problem with it. I wish you would just be quiet and go to a corner. But
Then
you know,
come out and defend.
Yeah. They are defending. They have been, and I know that I sound, people keep telling me heal. I don't want to heal. Why should I heal? I want to channel this.
Yeah.
I want to channel this to the actions that I want to take so that I go back to that parliament and do the things that we need to do.
Earlier on, you mentioned now you want to seek fresh mandate so you can come back. Are you going to Bobasi? You could talk about that.
I'm vying. I'm vying. I'm going to be in parliament. And the best case scenario is that I go back to the Senate as an elected senator. That would be the best case scenario. But I will be in parliament. And that you can take from me. I'll be in parliament. I'm vying. And let me tell you something. I do believe that, when all is said and done and we go to wherever we put up, we go to our homes. Yeah? And you think that these things you're doing is because, after 5 years, after all, I'll be done. So I got to make the money that I need to make now and then move on. I don't think anyone in this administration is going to have peace. Because sincerely, the same God that put William Ruto in that office will brutally remove him there. That same God. That same God that we served and we said, this guy, he has so much plans for this country. And we went down on our knees, me being one of them, and prayed and said, please allow for this guy to go to office. That same God will brutally remove William Ruto from that office. And all the gangs around him that have stolen, murdered, and raped the Kenyan people.
Those people are they are the larger group from which this group of people comes from that hope to get jobs. I believe that there are some people in this Kazi Maju program who go get a job and they're able to fend for somehow. But one bad story where somebody has been mistreated, the terrible story where somebody came back in a box, terrible stories of how people are sexually abused when they think that they're going to do a domestic job. Those are too many stories for the program to be successcial.
And the
thing is it a program that is working and successful
One
today?
thing you have to realize, before Kazi Maju came, Kenyans through agents were still going out.
Yes, they were.
And they were successfully getting jobs, real jobs. And that never stopped. So even the successful people have not gone through the Kazi Maju program. They've just gone through whatever used to happen before. Yeah. They've paid exorbitant amounts of fees, 300,000 plus, and they've made it. But I challenge the Ministry of Labor and I challenge our president, who I have come to learn and really understand that he is a pathological liar. I challenge him. Just bring the names. You see, in my family and my extended family, we are at least maybe 100 and something people in the age bracket of 45 and below. If I tell you that my family, 60% of my family has benefited from this program, I should at least be able to give you a list of the 60 or 50%.
You would know somebody. You would know.
I would know someone. And that person should at least be able to come and not be trained and just say, listen, look, me, I came. You can see my picture here in the church. Me, I paid. You can see the pay bill that I paid here. And then me, I waited 6 months. Eventually, I went. You can see I went. These are the photos. And now I am telling you, I work here as a mason or whatever, and I'm happy and I'm earning this much. Is it so difficult to get those kind of success stories? So who are these 430,000 happy people who have successfully gotten jobs out there?
So let's go to the original idea of labor export. My imagination tells me it was meant to come in and try, one, lower the cost of travel or seeking jobs.
Yes.
Make it easy and credible for Kenyans to find contracts that are binding, that what you sign for is what you get. Right? And then, the terms are agreeable to both our country, you as a person, and the employer. So at what point did this change? Because the private agencies, as you say, have been taking
They've been taking people, and they're still taking people.
And they're still doing it.
And by the way, if you talk to private agencies and you go and tell them, mimi sitakuja nilipe your 300,000 enda kulipa ya serikali, they laugh. They laugh because they know you're going nowhere.
Yes.
And you will come back to them. You see, what I would imagine this program was supposed to do, especially if as a labor minister you're going to negotiate, I would imagine at a very basic understanding that I would go and sit down with these people and say, okay, in order for you who wants to get a foreigner to come and work in your house, first of all, you have to put a down payment of their visa and their flight. That is something you can negotiate on G2G.
Yeah.
So that burden of the employee having to cater for their flight is taken away, right? Then if you have that en masse, what happens is you truly have reduced the cost of traveling, because now the Kenyan government, the only thing they would say is, on our end, we would make sure that we are sending you healthy people. And then we would enroll with level 4, level 5 hospitals to do the standard. There would be a standard test,
medical test, yes,
that if you pass these tests in a government institution, then you just bring that slip from eCitizen, and then it is taken to the employer, and the employer is ready for you. They purchase your ticket, you go.
Yeah.
A G2G is supposed to make the arrangement easier. And by the way, on top of that, then I don't need to pay any fees to any agent. I need to just pay eCitizen and book my test. And then all that process of making sure that medically whatever is covered under our government hospitals. That's the one thing, basic understanding of what I could do as a labor minister. And then if I'm going to Saudi Arabia, I'll tell them another thing, you people are killing our people. So what we expect you to do also, if you are
stop killing them.
is to put here money for insurance. Because another thing we've understood is that when our people are getting sick, you're refusing to take them to hospital.
Yeah.
So you put money for the flight, you put money for the insurance, and also we want you to put a guarantee that in the event something suspicious happens, and even we need to repatriate this person back, we are going to spend this money on that process. Or even if, by God forbid, the person dies, we are going to, this is how we recover. And then I would imagine that because we are exporting so much laborers to the UAE, I would beef up my embassy and have
it doesn't seem
places.
Something so difficult to put in place.
Well, until you have Karen Nyamu traveling to Saudi Arabia to do a Senate inquiry. And then, that answers you. But my point is, because the first trip that went to do the Senate inquiry was led by these people. It's not rocket science. It is not rocket science. And then another thing that I would do is that I would make sure, because the embassy is probably in one central place and there are workers everywhere, just have,
consulates.
Consulates around the place, because we are understanding now we are doing business in this country and we need to safeguard our people. It's called stopgap measures. Just put them in place.
Sounds like what a good government would want to do.
It sounds like what any leader should do. And then another thing is, we have a training facility that is supposed to familiarize Kenyans here and prepare them to go to Saudi Arabia, understand the Islamic laws, what the do's and the don'ts. The initial process was going to take 6 months to a year or something. This government went and shortened it.
3 months.
Yeah, because they're like, muna waste time. Because they don't really care if you're going to die or whatever. For them, it's like, please, we need to churn you out very quickly, because they're the ones who own the agencies. So they shortened the period of training. Why? Make it so difficult for someone to be able to take a caregiver, a nurse, a housekeeper, and turn them into a
slave.
Yeah, because now uko na mikakati umeweka. Instead, our government is shortening the process, bringing in cartels to do medical tests and whatever. So there is no intent of this government to actually safeguard the people of Kenya. The intent of this government is to make money for their own. These state officials, they have to make their own money, and they understand, especially now more than ever, that they are not coming in for a second term. So the hastiness at which things are being done is literally, if you are walking in to steal and you realize, as opposed to having 2 minutes, you now have 30 seconds. You are in a rush to steal everything on the table.
Well, how about opening eyes to certain realities that could be the order of the day? And very many things are clear and many things are true. Gloria, but thank you for being here this morning.
Yeah, and thank you. And I want to wish the contestants for the by-elections our very best. You know, you've seen what's happening in Bere and everything. Yeah. And I want to tell Kenyans not to lose hope. Let them not lose hope. Yeah, let them not lose hope, because there are a few of us who understand the kind of people we are dealing with, and we have not lost hope. Yeah, we are regrouping and re-strategizing on how we are going to save this country from, this gang.
And all the best to you. Come here from your beat to come 2027.
Thank you.
And a good note to end on this morning. And for us to continue having these conversations, because it's important. It's only when in the dark and covered up that evil thrives. Asante sana. A minute past 1. Good morning. Past 9, rather. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. 2 suspects linked to the Kwabinzaro murders in Malindi are today due to appear in court to face charges including murder, terrorism and organized crime. Julius Thoya, age 35, and Charles Mutua, age 67, were arrested in Kitui after months on the run. Thoya was found hiding in Kamanya village, while Mutua was arrested in Kinyonyo as he tried to flee to Nairobi. DCI investigators have recovered phones, summoned booklets, a pistol and exhumed 34 bodies, and 102 remains as the probe continues. 4 suspects, including the main suspect, Charlene Tembo Anido, remain in custody and will return to court on Monday next week. China has partnered with Kenya to accelerate maternal and newborn health outcomes in Kenya. Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Guo Haiyan, made the announcement in Wote, Makueni County on Monday as Kenya joined the world in marking World Prematurity Day. The envoy said China had helped set up neonatal intensive care units across the country, which now offer timely and specialized treatment to premature infants, significantly reducing infant mortality rates.
China makes various efforts, improving medical service system, strengthening maternal and child health institutions, training professional healthcare workers, promoting prenatal and neonatal care, and advancing health education and community support. In particular, China has established nationwide network for neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU, with more than 3,000 NICU now in operation.
World Prematurity Day was celebrated under the theme Give Preterm Babies a Strong Start for a Hopeful Future at Makueni Mother and Baby Hospital. Lawyer Chacha Mwita, who prosecutors allege provided services to terrorist organizations, spent the night at the Inland Container Depot police station in Embakasi, Nairobi. Mwita will tomorrow know whether he will be detained for 20 days to allow the anti-terrorism police unit complete investigations into alleged terror financing allegations. Prosecutors allege that investigations have linked the lawyer to a recruitment network in the coastal region, purportedly assisting youth to join terrorist groups. He was presented at the Kahawa Law Courts on Monday after his arrest on last Friday in Nyali, Mombasa County. In Trans Nzoia County, a middle-aged man who allegedly killed his father 19 days ago in Kwanza constituency of a protracted land dispute has been lynched by a mob. Brian Masinde, aged 29, had on many occasions openly declared that he would kill someone. He allegedly hit his father multiple times using a blunt object until he died before he went into hiding. This man told reporters what happened when angry residents caught up with him.
Ule aliyeua baba yake marehemu Muliro Karera alikuja hapo akajificha kwa miti karibu na shamba la miwa la shamba lao Sabwani Temberera, na wananchi waliokuwa na hamaki punde si punde walipomuona walifukuzana na yeye, akateremka mto Sabwani, akafuka akaruka. So ule mwenye aliyekuwa mbele kuwa na kifaa butu akamupiga akaanguka chini. Wengine walitoka kwa hasira baada ya kufuka mto, amewawa na wameponda kichwa, na yeye ametipitisha uwaye kwa ubanga, uwawa pia kwa upanga. Ninaposema hivi niko kwa kukaa yake boma ya Msemwa Karera, na wamesema huenda wasimusike kwa boma, hawataki laana kwa boma.
Aid agencies have reiterated calls for Israel to allow more tents and urgently needed supplies into Gaza after the first heavy winter rainfall, saying more than 250,000 families need emergency help with shelters. We are going to lose lives this winter. Children, families will perish, says Jan Egeland, Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council. With the majority of the population displaced by 2 years of a devastating war, most Gazans now live in tents, many of them makeshift. They've been clearing up after widespread flooding due to a winter storm that began on Friday. There are fears that diseases could spread as rainwater has mixed with sewage water. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, you know, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo, ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So and we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit.
Up to 60% off on 900 plus quality items. Naivas Kikwetu Black November 2025 tunacheza kama sisi. In a bigger and a better way just for you. Ukidai TV, tukuna the best brands. Ukidai fridge, tukuna the best quality. Ukidai blenders na microwaves, utakuwa spoiled for choice. Na ukifanya shopping, kuna amazing weekly and monthly prizes. Unaweza kuwa driver wa a brand new car ama senke this season. Usikubali kupitwa hiki kwetu Black November season. Shop at any Naivas store or online at naivas.co.ke. Save up to 60% and stand a chance to win big. Naivas saves you money.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 9 minutes after 9 o'clock, and just that reminder that we are coming towards the festive season. Let's kick it off Kikwetu style. We're talking unbeatable deals, flash sales, and deals of the day of up to 60%. This is your chance to stock up, gift early, and enjoy value that truly saves you money. Okay, listen up. We're talking about Naivas celebrating 35 years of Kikwetu excellence in a big way. Through the Naivas at 35 Kikwetu promotion, they're saying asante to all Kenyans with amazing prices weekly and monthly. They're giving away 6 cars, 45 motorcycles, fridges, cookers, microwaves, and even the iconic Naivas Mbuzi, and this time even chicken to spice up your Christmas. And the best part, you could win instantly at the till every day, everywhere. Just make sure you're a Naivas loyalty member. How do you do that? Shop for any amount and you're in. So shop, save and win Kikwetu style at a Naivas Kiloko near you or online. Black November, the Kikwetu way, only at Naivas. Naivas saves you money every day. Yesterday, I annoyed Joe because we woke up in the morning and I started telling him how, 87,000 ghost students, 1 billion shillings lost every year in the payment of ghost students, and we went on and on and on.
Indeed.
And I'm
still annoyed.
You're still angry.
Just for the record. Yes.
When they said do not let the sun go down with your anger, you are not that student.
No, I missed. That's the school that had no students.
That school. That was the one.
That was the one.
So we're going to talk about it today. Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa is the Executive Director of the Usawa Agenda, and he joins us this morning. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Ndu. How are you?
I am fine. Joe is a bit annoyed, so I have
he will be fine.
He will.
We'll see.
So let's look at some numbers, but we'll look into some of those numbers today. But the whole education conversation, we just seem to be kind of going round and round in circles. But we'll get into that in just a minute. This week we are in Guinea. Guinea is in West Africa. Of course, having been colonized by the French, still remains largely French culturalized, with its own language, of course, and then trying to make its way for itself as one of the 8 West African francophone countries that's pulling away from the stronghold of the French. And this is a proverb that they share today. Knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. What do you make of that?
Knowledge is never static. Mm-hmm. So there is no moment when you have knowledge and you can rest and say, now I have what I need to know. Mm-hmm. You have to keep learning. And even unlearning some things. If you don't keep learning and unlearning and relearning, then with every passing year, you are as less knowledgeable in every subsequent year than you were the previous.
Yeah.
So, that's my understanding.
There you go. You do better when you get more, isn't it?
You got to keep learning.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you're on your way out, one would say. And even with that realization, it seems as though with all the knowledge and understanding that we have, especially around the education sector, we're still just not able to get it quite right. So if we were to do a mini audit of what is happening right now, this is just off the top of our heads, without having to go into the nitty-gritty of those details. Is that this is an interesting year in education. And I think for the past 3, we've had interesting years. In the last 3 years, we saw KCPE end, and that was in 2023. That was the last KCPE that was done. That meant that we then also in the same year saw the first grade 7s. We then also saw that 844 as a system comes to an end soon. The last KCPE also being the last Form 4s, because the class of 2027 will be the last one of Form 4 in the country. It's also an interesting year because this is the first KJSEA we saw seated as exams in the country. Next year is the first grade 10s, and this is all oscillating around one class, the ones who were the pioneer class of the CBC education. Now as grade 10s, the class 8s, which is another interesting class. The grade 8 they were the last class 8 and will be the last Form 4s, same ones as we look at all of this. If we further that audit just a little bit, and you just grant me a little bit of grace, Dr. Munyasa, is that capitation for the year 2025 not complete. Interestingly enough, capitation for the year 2024 not complete. For the year 2023 not complete. For the year 2022 not complete. For the year 2021 not complete. That money that was sent to schools took care of the fire at the moment, but did not take care of what was owed before. So everybody was kind of left to figure themselves out. This year, for the first time, the reason that we are being given for the delay in capitation was because there are ghosts in the system. And up to 87,000 ghost learners are being blamed for the reason why the capitation was slow in terms of it coming out. And they needed to do an audit as to who these people are or why they were paid this kind of money. So my audit at this point ends because there seems to be too much to have to take in at the moment. This is all happening when you must deliver a quality education to the country's children. Why are we here where we are at the moment? Why?
Because dishonesty has become our second nature. And it's very unfortunate. So let's go back.
Okay.
Right.
And let me give you some figures about capitation this year. So schools were sent 360 shillings per learner for primary schools in first term. They were sent 8 bob per learner in second term. And they have been sent 140 shillings per learner in third term.
Oh, was that the original allocation?
The amount allocated per learner in primary school is 1,400.
Yes. They got 580.
They got 580
yes.
total for the year. The amount allocated per learner for special needs learners is 3,000. The amount allocated for JSC learners is 15,000. So if we look at the 87,000 learners that are missing, and we say they are the reason part of the money has not been sent, and the ministry says it is still holding 1 billion shillings, which they think is attributable to these 87,000, it tells you this 87,000, either the 87,000 or the 1 billion, or both numbers are just numbers, random. And let me be very straight. They are random numbers because if you assume that each of those learners is allocated 10,000 as an average, because some are junior, some are primary, it will be 870 million to not be 1 billion. But from the numbers of schools that we have been told which have not submitted the lists, majority of them are primary. By virtue of primary schools having more grades than the junior, then we would assume that these 87,000 learners are mostly primary. If they are mostly primary, the amount does not get close to 1 billion. So the 1 billion figure, I don't know where it is from. And
it sounds nice. A billion sounds nice.
If the billion is an actual figure, then the 87,000 is not an actual figure.
So something in these two numbers is off.
Fictitious.
One of these two numbers is
fictitious,
incorrect.
to say the least.
Is incorrect. One of the two numbers is incorrect. But that, for me, is not the problem. We have said, and I have said this over and over, and at some point people told me I was being alarmist. And I said, no one actually knows the number of learners we have in Kenya. Universities don't know how many students they have. The ministry doesn't know how many learners we have in primary and secondary school.
But how is that, Emmanuel?
How is that possible?
When each and every pupil, student,
school
has a code, has an index number. How is that? How do we qualify the statement that indeed as a country?
We have created a system where numbers can emerge and disappear.
Right.
And that has allowed for there to be multiple numbers attributable to one school. So one school can have 500 candidates in Form 4, but when they sit KCSE, they are 400.
And that's a statement of fact, that there are schools where we have misrepresentation.
Yeah, that's why you've had the ministry saying in this verification exercise, they were triangulating data from NEC to the reports from the ministry officials in the field. Because NEC numbers are mostly accurate.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they are after-fact numbers.
Absolutely.
Because they come
after an examination.
So they can't be the numbers to use for capitation.
But yet we register students for examinations.
After-fact numbers.
Yeah.
So these are the numbers, for some reason, they change. And those numbers some are changed by teachers who want to get more money for their school, so they send in bigger numbers than they actually have. But some are also not being captured by the system, because the system at some point seems to be wired to frustrate head teachers when they are attempting to submit numbers.
Emmanuel,
let me finish this point and then you can come in. Because if you speak to head teachers of junior schools, they'll tell you for first term and second term, they were unable to upload the numbers of grade 7.
What does unable mean? I'm sorry, I don't
They
understand.
were unable. You go to the system and you are unable to upload the numbers. So they did not receive capitation for grade 7 learners for first and second term because they were unable to upload those.
Was it intentionally set that way so they couldn't?
I don't know. But if it is not intentional, why do we have such an incompetent then IT personnel to have a system that frustrates the very function it is supposed to perform?
So that we don't jump the gun.
Yes, please.
Sorry, please. I make sometimes assumptions and I would just imagine that that's the way it is. But please, maybe you can explain so we can understand. I know because like when my daughter was getting into school, on the day you are reporting to school, that is when they give you the form for what was the NEMIS number. There's a UIC number that you get, which is then indexed at the ministry. So then their information, then is it at the ministry? Do ministry officials know that there is this 13-year-old girl with this number? These are her official names. They take her KCPE results and they match them to 1, 2, 3. I'm assuming that's the Ministry of Education, or is it somebody else?
So the same way we have ID numbers, and your ID number is a unique identifier, that it will never be confused. There's nowhere someone will put my ID number into the system and it will bring Ndu's face or bring George's face. It will always bring my face.
Okay.
We expected that these unique identification numbers being given to learners will be that number that performs the function of an ID number for the adult.
Yes.
And that when this child moved from one school to another, that number will automatically move.
Yeah.
And once one school files that number as a return of one of their learners, another school cannot file the same number.
Right.
And so there is no room for any school to overestimate the number of learners they have, because each one of them has a number. The challenge with that number has been that it was pegged on a birth certificate, and you have a lot of children without birth certificates for a variety of reasons. Because you have many children without birth certificates, there is room now to enter other children who do not get that unique identification number in the beginning. And for that reason, these numbers then start to shift. And so, and that's why I said the basic problem is that dishonesty has become our second.
Who is inputting these numbers? Who? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my last question for now. Who is inputting these numbers? Like now, Standard Group, IT, they tell us you need to do 1, 2, 3. We know the guys who are in the IT department. We see them, we understand. Somebody sends an email, we know it is person 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know. Who is responsible for uploading this data into the system so that, for example, when I'm getting my KCSE results, anybody who's waiting now for KJSEA, there is a number when you're sending that USSD code, there is a number you put in that now calls up your results, isn't it? Or am I dreaming?
That is true.
That's true. Who puts in that information?
Head teachers are supposed to input the numbers into the platform.
And the platform belongs to
the ministry.
Okay.
But
Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education.
Okay.
But that platform is not tamper-proof.
No, we cannot make excuses for them.
And that is the effort that they have been trying to shift now from NEMIS to chemists.
Yeah.
I am hoping that chemists will be tamper-proof. For now, NEMIS, which has been used, is not tamper-proof. So what has happened is that some unscrupulous individuals have shifted children when it is time to send capitation. So I run a school, George runs a school, George knows someone who can help him. At the time of sending capitation, learners from my school are shifted to George's school.
Physically?
No,
or data-wise, online.
Online. They're shifted to George's school. George receives capitation for much more learners than he has. And I receive capitation for fewer learners than I have. That has happened. It's not a hoax. And that is what has allowed the possibility for there to be ghost schools that receive capitation. Why? Because learners from other schools will be shifted at the time of sending capitation and appear in the portal of that school
and receive allocation
receive money, and the learners will be moved back.
When you walked in, Emmanuel, you said, I will be okay. I will not be okay. Because one,
please be okay.
I shall not be okay. Education is an equalizer.
Yeah.
It is meant to not just interfere with the illiteracy levels, but also empower the society so that we're able to function in modern times, so that we're able to interrogate concepts and live accordingly in today's intrigues of life.
Yeah.
The only thing we can give our children today is, besides parenting, education, so that they're able to be functional human beings in this modern society, both in Kenya and elsewhere, as they shall continue to mingle with in this world. But then here we are, where we know that a major function of this government, or any government, according to our Kenyan constitution, is to not just provide education, but provide quality and accessible education, which is actually supposed to be free, but that's a conversation for another day. Now, you worry me when you say that we have, like, you see, like now we have the KCSE is ongoing. We have education officers who every morning, together with the administration, police, they are out to dispatch the papers, the examination papers. And you worry me when you say that some of these numbers that may have been registered may actually not be the actual numbers that are sitting for this exam. I'm worried there. Then you scare me when you say that in some of these schools, the ghost schools now, they have received continuously capitation because of some shared generated fake data from one school to the next, and that's how money has been finding itself to those accounts, and it benefits a few people. I beg to ask, we have education officers, we have a whole, education is devolved to an extent. So there is a whole structure that is supposed to ensure that we know how many numbers of schools we have. We keep talking about hiring and retooling teachers. Sometimes even wonder whether that is real or ghost as well. We should know how many pupils we have, how many students we have. Well, then the ministry is exactly not doing their job. So my concern is education being an equalizer, and the issues that you are raising today and highlighting very well. What do we do as a country?
So before we even talk about education being an equalizer, let me mention, I work for Usawa Agenda.
Right.
As Usawa Agenda, we don't even use the word inclusion because the agenda has been equity and inclusion, and we feel inclusion in itself presupposes that someone has a right to include another. And that is not right as per us.
Yes.
So we promote education justice. And a just education is where every child has access and benefits from the kind of education that a wise parent desires for his or her children. That is essential, not just for the individual as a right, which we have put in our constitution, but for the country, because it enables the country to tap its best and utilize for its development. But that is also what underwrites global peace, because IQ is randomly distributed. If we allow only children from well-to-do families whose families can pay for education to benefit from education, that will not stop those we have denied education from being intelligent. They will continue to be intelligent, but they will bear grievances. And if they bear these grievances, they will work to undermine the society that we are trying to build, because they will be excluded, they will be put on the margins of society, and they will fight that society. So we need to make sure that every child accesses the right quality of education and benefits from it, and that is what guarantees us sustainable peace, not just as a country, but as the world. And it is very critical for me. You have raised an important question around the structures that we have. So when I hear that there are ghost schools, the first question I ask, how did they get into the system? We have a very robust system of registering schools. And I will assume that every school that gets into the system has been registered. To register a school, you will apply. But that application form will have to be accompanied by a letter from the County Education Board. It will have to be accompanied by an assessment report signed by the Sub-County Quality Assurance and Standards Officer or the County Quality Assurance and Standards Officer. It will have to be accompanied by NEMA report. It will have to be accompanied by Public Health Inspection report. So for a school to be fictitious and exist, it means these people,
there was collaboration,
created reports about something that didn't exist. So if we determine right now that we have these 10 schools that don't exist, why don't we go back to the records and see how they were registered? And get all the people who wrote reports that said we have done the inspection and this school exists. And see those fellows in court
because
to tell the story that we are serious.
Right.
That's one. Two, if they have operated bank accounts, there's no bank that will open an account for anybody or any institution without the ID of the signatory.
The current PIN.
And the current PIN number and the face. Why don't we see those faces? If we haven't seen them, we are engaged in a hoax. We're just talking about things. We don't know whether they are actually real.
Right. So, the Member of Parliament for Suba North, when they were interrogating this issue in Parliament before the CS, she made it sound very simple. And I actually agree that this thing is simple. and you seem to have confirmed it now, that it is not difficult for you to find out the origin of the registration of some of these institutions and the students who you're claiming are ghosts. Because I go back to the question, I just need you to clarify. All of these things that are being asked for, letter from the County Education Board, letter from Quality Assurance and Standards Board, letter from NEMA, letter from the Public Health and all of these people, these are government facilities.
Yeah.
It's not some random private company who wants to run their own thing for quality assurance. They are government facilities. And again, bank accounts, you have to have identification. The system is watertight. Where is all of this information housed? That this copy of your letter assertion from NEMA, this copy of your letter assertion from the County Education Board, I would assume that all of that, excuse me, for every school or every institution is together and it's filed, whether it's digitally or manually, it's together. You would have it. So it shouldn't take you so long, or it shouldn't be too difficult a task for you to say, Usawa Agenda Primary School in Mombasa Road, you find the information and you confirm all of these things. Shouldn't be too difficult, should it?
So this is where I start to think that all this mess is intentional. I feel it is intentional because the only way we have this loophole is that the letters from the County Education Board are not addressed to the PS. And why? Because we don't have the National Education Board, which was provided for in the law. And so I keep wondering, could it be the reason some people were so hell-bent on de-establishing the National Education Board? Because at one point it was established by Professor Kamanya when he was CS for education. And then it was de-established by Matiang'i. And has never been re-established. I have made a bit of noise, but now there is an attempt to remove it altogether from the law. So you have county education boards that are hanging, and whatever they have to submit to Nairobi has to now go to the PS. Could this loophole be intentionally created? So the counties can do their work, rigorous process of trying to establish schools, but then fictitious schools can be entered into the system from the national level. Because all this information will be domiciled in the National Education Board.
So, it's not only annoying, but also more confusing, Emmanuel. Because we are looking at a quagmire, or what you'd call a scheme, because it is known, it must be known by the government that among the institutions that are meant to verify, the authorities that are meant to regulate, they have not done their mandate. 87,000 is not a small number. And suffice to say, about 10 schools were found to have no students, and then also before that, most schools were found to have registered, I saw a school that had students, but they did not register them for the final exam. So in terms of regulation, because Usawa, you're doing your bid, you're coming out, you're speaking the truth to power, you're highlighting the gaps and saying this is not correct for the society, because as you rightly put it, this is not just a business enterprise, it's the fiber of our society that will now spur our economic growth, should we mean to move from the third world to the first world country. There is no other way. The mainstream path here is streamlining our education system. So as Usawa, do you have partners? Do you have collaborators? Do you have something that people can build, other good willing Kenyans can join in, so that we're able to try and at least streamline? Because this is the end of the year. Beginning of next year, people will be taking their kids to school. You'll be required to provide a birth certificate so that the kid can be registered. They can be onboarded. But you don't want years later to realize that actually you've been in a ghost school. In a manner of speaking.
So We actually have partners across the country. We have 52 partners across the country. We are present in every county in Kenya through those 52 partners. A few counties we have more than one partner, like Nairobi because it's big. Like Marsabit, we have 2 partners there. Nairobi, we have 3. Most of the other counties, we have 1 partner, with whom we work to engage with the subnational level structures of the ministry and the county government. But and we have partners at the national level. And we are working with the ministry, by the way. We have been engaged with them in the review of the review of the school establishment guidelines. They are changing them into regulations, and we support that idea. We have had workshops with them to review them and to say, can we strengthen them and make the officers involved in the registration process more accountable? Because right now, when you are registering a school and the county education board chaired by the county director of education endorses your application and sends a letter to Nairobi saying we recommend this school. And then they send other inspectors to check, and they find it was actually ghost. It ends there. There are no...
Nobody goes back to the person.
There are no repercussions to the person who had sent a letter recommending an entity that didn't qualify for registration. So we are trying to strengthen those and move them from guidelines, because guidelines don't carry consequences, to make them regulations that will be inviolable.
Yes.
We violate,
someone can be penalized for violation.
So we are partnering with many entities, including the Ministry of Education itself, to say, how can we work together to strengthen this system and make sure that it actually delivers.
But Dr. Manyasa, is it about strengthening a system or removing the rot? Because this is the thing. If you go to a place, you find it's a ghost school, a normal person would then return and say, this is a ghost school. So one of 2 things, or both, needs to happen. That this name number be removed from the system, and the people who are responsible for allocating funding to this institution, where students don't exist, then must pay. But that never happened. So how do we say that we are working on something whereby we're just building on the rot?
We need to strengthen the system, even as we look at removing the rot, because if you put a very decent, smart fellow into a muddy track, they come out muddy. So the issue is to say, yes, we want to look at the muddy fellows inside this muddy track and remove them. But we must also clean the track. And cleaning the track is strengthening these regulations to make sure that they keep whoever comes in the straight and narrow.
But as you do that,
because as it is now, everyone can play all manner of games.
As you try to have controls, system controls that will ensure that whatever is provided for is what we work with, that we work within the confinement of law. We have a tendency of saying, let bygones be bygones. And that's where I personally have a problem, because we lack what we call institutional responsibility. As you say, there are very agencies and organs that are meant to make sure that this process of not just registering but also running a school is foolproof. They have failed on their mandate. In my opinion, the CS is the number 1 person, because it should be very shameful for any CS to come out and say, in my ministry, there has been stealing, not just for 1 year, not just for 2 years. And my system is not working, because 87,000 people, we have been giving them allocation in form of capitation, and they are non-existent. And 10 or more than 10 facilities, and they were listed, given the counties they came from, actually have been non-existent, and yet we've been dishing out capitation to the same school. That institutional responsibility lacks. So even as you try to reorganize, we cannot let bygones be bygones, because what will be the deterrent then?
I agree with you totally that if someone is going to steal So I used to teach economics in the university. One of the things that was interesting that I taught was the theory of crime. In the theory of crime, a criminal maximizes returns to crime subject to punishment.
Correct.
And punishment is looking at, one, the probability to be caught, how high is it and what is the return. Two is the probability to get away when you're caught. And how high is the probability?
Was the entire Ministry of Education your student in that university class on how to get away? But
no, I never taught how to get away. But the analysis that the criminal conducts in their mind before they commit a crime is, what is the chance that I will be caught? What is the chance that even if I'm caught, I can get away? And what is the return if I commit this crime? That is what informs commission of a crime. So I am not in any way saying let us not punish those who have offended the law, because there is already the law. So those who have offended the law must take responsibility. But in all fairness to the current leaders of the Ministry of Education, this rot did not begin with them. And in any case, maybe I should say I'm happy they're doing something about it.
But are they?
I am unhappy that they're doing the wrong thing about it.
But Dr. Manyasa, they're not doing anything about it.
Let me finish the point I am making. I feel that the very fact that they have for once admitted that there could be ghost learners.
This is criminality.
I have been saying this for a long time.
Right.
That we don't know how many learners we have. And I was being called names for saying that. So at least there is an admission that we have children who do not exist in real terms, and that there are schools that don't exist in real terms. There's an admission. I am unhappy that this is happening in third term and inconveniencing schools big time in terms of how to prepare candidates, especially for examinations, especially for high schools. It was very unfortunate that this happened in third term. They needed to prepare candidates. They didn't receive capitation on time because of this audit. And if you are auditing in third term and Form 4s are exiting, grade 9s are exiting junior school, it doesn't help. Audit needs to happen in the first month of January. So that for the whole year, you know the numbers you're dealing with.
Just a quick one, Dr.
So it's convenient.
As you talk of audit, just off your fingers, how many schools do we have in Kenya? According to you?
I actually don't know. We have estimates of numbers. When we conduct our surveys, we go to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to do sampling for us, to sample the schools that we visit. And in some instances, they've given us schools and told us, do your survey and we will want your findings to help us clean our frame, because we do not have a complete frame. When Kenya National Bureau of Statistics does not have the exact number of schools there is in the country, and it is the mandated statistical entity in the country, then it means it is difficult to tell. We have not published the statistical abstract for 3 years now.
So it is not yet known how many schools.
We don't know when we don't have the statistics.
The reason I ask this is because sometimes we make it rocket science on how to do an audit of how many schools and students we have. Yet, just earlier in the year, when the government found it fit to do a typhoid vaccination, they were able to deploy people to each and every corner of the country because that was well funded and there were resources that needed to be used in a record 2 weeks, less than a month.
The government has presence
across
in the village.
Yes.
Office of the president is represented in the village by the village elder.
Yes.
So, office of the president can tell us how many schools we have in Kenya by sunset today.
So it is not rocket science.
If they wanted that information.
So then if we raise the alarm that this is criminality that is well structured in the Ministry of Education, would we be wrong?
I don't know whether I should say it is criminality by the Ministry of Education. My thinking is that Ministry of Education is not one one homogeneous entity. Like any ministry, like any organized group, there are all shades of individuals in there. Yeah, all shades, from the white to the gray to the black. I have learned that life is many shades of gray. So they vary. And so in there are individuals who are very committed, who are working very hard, who wants the system to succeed. In there are individuals, many of them well connected, who are doing everything that is contrary to what the public expects. I will tell you, for instance, you ran this feature on principles from hell. Yeah, and it's true. We have principles from hell. We do research. We have gone to some of these schools, and we have met principals who will tell you will not enter. You have the letter from the Ministry of Education, the PS. You have a letter from the County Director of Education. We have gotten County Directors of Education to call them, and they have said you will not. So, who are they, and who is their patron or matron? If you have the letter from the PS, if the County Director of Education has called them and told them, these people are doing research, allow them. And she tells you no. And one of those such as schools is Bishop Ngandu. We went there. We were turned away, and it was being mentioned in your news. I'm sorry to mention it.
No, it was public. Don't be sorry.
It's public. So you wonder who protects this person. And you can't maybe accuse the Ministry of Education for what happens there, because this person seems to have powers beyond what the Ministry of Education can regulate.
And that's the problem, Dr. Manyasa. And I think that's the problem, that we seem to want to coddle this thing down the road. And it is very clear that it is criminality that is going on here. But we choose to say, okay, well, let's see how we can work together. You can't. If Joe committed a crime, and I was in the room with him, and I watched the thing happen, and I just kept quiet, and somebody finds out that I was in that room, and that case is prosecuted, I am guilty by association. It's in the law.
Yeah,
I can be prosecuted. It's not possible that we say that the Ministry of Education oversees education in the country, and these things are going wrong day in, day out, and we say, oh, okay, it's a monolith, it's complicated, there's so many wheels turning, so many people doing too many things. And it is in that wheels turning that this criminality is taking place.
So
we're saying it's too big to deal with?
Do one of the things I have to tell you. There is what the Ministry of Education can do, and there is what other institutions need to do. Why, for instance, has ESCC never done a lifestyle audit on some of these principles?
Because they're incompetent.
Why would I be appointed head of a small school today, and tomorrow I'm driving a Prado?
Because that same systemic rot in the
my
Ministry
salary as a head, as a school head. If I have any other business, you know it, and because I should be declaring my taxes. Why?
Because we are accepting of this same systemic rot across the board.
So we have many institutions that are not playing their role.
Absolutely.
But there is what we call the one government approach. You see, we only have one government. All these ministries operate under one government, one constitution. Civil servants, we don't say they're different. It is one government. That's why it's even easier to have these ministerial cross-departmental transfers, and you're expected to continue working within the ethos and the ethics of that practice. So we cannot now complain, only to turn back and say, but it is not your full responsibility. Honestly, Dr. we must take a stand and call it out for what it is. If we had a very proper, well-functional education system, then we would be crediting the Ministry of Education and saying they're doing a very good job, like we have done before with some of the ministers of education. So if this one is not working well,
like which one?
If this one is failing,
let's start there.
You could say Kamanya, like you said earlier on, he had the National Education Board, so some things were working then. Of course, we've had transitions, and that's why I'm saying it should not be anchored on personalities per se, institutional responsibility. When you subscribe to being a teacher, to being a CS, you know the duties and the functions of that office. If you're not able to execute, you should get out of that office and let Kenyans have another person who can serve them. Let's not excuse the bad manners. This is criminality because you're talking of billions of people and lives of children and kids who their lives are getting compromised today. They will not be functional tomorrow.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that we have this happening in education, but I want us to maybe pivot away a bit from this and look at the issue of what does it take to educate a child through school in Kenya. That is a conversation that I would want the government and led by the Ministry of Education to help us to have. Why? Because if you budget and say we'll send capitation of 14,200, actually 1,420 per child, and you send 580, do you still expect that school to function or not?
That's the criminality.
If that school functions, are we in a way saying the budget was too much? We budgeted too much. And why are we budgeting too much? Much more than what is needed. There is something else that has happened recently. They have said Form 4s are going to collect, Form 4 leavers are going to collect their certificates from the sub-county officers so that they are not detained by school principals. It is very populist and sounds good for learners who are leaving school. It will have very dire consequences on children who come from struggling families. Because simply, there is no principal who is going to allow a child who has not cleared fees to even register for exams in their school. Why? Because if you allow them, they will never pay you. They will just sit the exam, go collect their certificate from the ministry and walk. They will never pay these debts that they have accumulated in the school. So principals are not going to allow. And the one who is going to suffer is the same person that this declaration is meant to help. It is much better to allow children to finish school and come back, work hard to get money to come and collect their certificates. Because these schools need to run.
That arrangement will be very short-lived because, Emmanuel, I'll have you know, we, the Kenyan people, we opine that the next regime must provide free, quality and accessible primary and secondary education, so that this whole shenanigans of capitation, sending less money, ghost schools can come to an end. We have to change our education system. The revolution of liberating our people from illiteracy and siphoning of public resources through the education system has to come to an end. If only we collapsed all these funds that we have, we stop this issuing of bursaries and misusing people, then we have a free, credible, quality, accessible education. Do you think that would be a step in the right direction in streamlining our education system?
Ideally, that will work. But we have to ask ourselves that the Kenyan economy have capacity to do that. And I am a trained economist.
Right.
And I would never want to say something that contradicts what I have in my head. So I try to be as forthright as I can on every issue. The Kenyan economy is the Kenyan taxpayer. Is the Kenyan taxpayer capable of paying for free, quality, primary and secondary education for every child? Kibaki didn't. Kibaki introduced free day secondary. Those day secondary schools are not offering quality education. Let's start there. There are schools where children are just growing up. There is.
you see, that's a plowback.
I have data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That shows sub-county schools are generally producing the grade E, C, and D, C maximum.
Could that be as a result
they are
of
educating 65%
might
of the
that be as a
learners?
result of the teaching personnel? It's not squarely on the student themselves. If we were to engage at that level.
So providing free school means
quality.
providing free quality education means providing facilities.
Correct.
And providing
personnel.
Yes. Majority of the sub-county schools don't have adequate numbers.
That is with this regime. That's what we're saying.
It's not with this regime. It's from the beginning.
I'm saying moving forward, the next regime come 2027, Kenyans are saying
so that's why
we must have free, quality, accessible education, which encompasses personnel, equipment, facilities, and proper management of the students.
And that is the question.
The question
I asked
was,
you.
can our economic model manage that?
Can Kenyans afford it?
Then the answer would be, we need a better economic model. We cannot be siphoning resources to ghost schools. Capitation that actually never goes there on time or in good time to be utilized on the same students.
So
we have to revise.
For me, the problems we face in education sector are solvable, but they require coherent thinking. At the moment, no one is thinking broadly and looking at a holistic solution. Everyone is kicking the can down the road. And I said this earlier this year, and I said, we are approaching the bottom of the hill. We have been kicking this can down the hill, but we are approaching the bottom of the hill where we will have nowhere to kick the can to. And we need to confront this fact. So, and think comprehensively. What do I mean by think comprehensively? We need to sit down and do the math and say, this is what it will cost to educate a child. I asked that question earlier. Do we know what it will cost to educate a child? At the moment, I don't think we do. And not just to educate, but to provide quality education. Not opportunities to grow up in school. We have a lot of children trapped in schools where they're just growing up. After your 4 years, you're going to get an E. You qualify for an artisan course, which you had qualified for after class 8. What have you been doing in school for 4 years? So let us go back there. We need to ask, what will it take? Once we have asked and answered that question, ask ourselves, this is the answer, times the number of children we have, can we afford? What can the ministry, what can government, because remember, Kenya on paper is already allocating the highest percentage possible to education.
Yeah, in its budget.
On paper. So let us ask ourselves, in this budget, how much can we be able to allocate?
A good question.
Once we have asked that question, let us ask, what is the gap?
A good question, and in the
how do
interest
we
of
feel?
time, Professor, it's true, we don't have the unit cost of education. But if you were to offer free quality education, it will cost us not more than 200 billion per year. We can continue that conversation another day. Thank you very much, Dr.
He's the Executive Director of the USAWA Agenda, Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I think today we've just been able to realize that there seems to be a very big hole that we need to dig out of and then cover it so that we don't get back into it again. And there are ways to cover it. Thank you.
Thank you.
These are the conversations that we have in the Situation Room, necessary for us to have. Thank you for being part of it this Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow morning, God willing, for more. Have a good rest of the day. It's 2 minutes past 10.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Adrian Lisamira. Non-governmental